Welcome everyone to the Umzansi Esports League. This is season 4 brought to you by Nodwin Gaming Africa. My name is Proxy and I'll be your host for this evening. But of course, for our FIFA segment, we have a wonderful casters. It is Tender Players and Snare joining you today on the desk with me. And as it goes, of course, today, we're going to start off with a bang. So let's take a look at that schedule to see what we have in store for you for the FIFA segment because we've got two very important games that we need to check out today. So let's take a look at it. Snare, if you would, take us through the schedule and what we're expecting. Explain to our viewers why this is huge.
As you just mentioned, it is indeed a bang, a boom of a start. Unfaizdd versus Masoom. This game has the potential to really define and determine what the table is going to look like after everything is done. Right now, defending champion Young Savage, who got a massive win yesterday, is going to be watching both games today with great interest. The first one in particular, he knows that if either Unfaizdd versus Masoom goes the way of Unfaizdd, or if Bobo Beast versus TheBeastBinachi goes the way of Bobo Beast, that means that we definitely will have a new champion. Young Savage will not be able to make it into the playoffs. However, should Masoom win, should TheBeastBinachi win, and depending on the goal difference that they win by, Young Savage might still have a way in. He might still have a chance to qualify for the playoffs and have an opportunity to defend the championship and be the only person to have done so thus far, which would be miraculous given how his run hasn't been perfect so far, hasn't been nearly as lit as Masoom or TheBeastBinachi's. But today, for the first time all season, he's going to be rooting for them because their path to glory might open up the door for him as well.
And that's always important coming back as a reigning champion. You want to have, the best opportunities possible to defend your championship. But of course, there is a lot more at stake. Let's take a look at that prize pool and remind you guys what is in store because we've got Unfaizdd and Masoom going up first. We've got the two of them going head to head. And as Snare just mentioned, this is big. This is massive. Tendo, do you want to continue that conversation? Where we're going to be looking at that?
Yeah, I mean, today's storyline is another one of those ones like last week where it's just kind of chance and fate in, some people's favor. I think, Unfaizdd is definitely going to have to come into this one, firing at all cylinders because Masoom's been looking hard, especially off his last couple of games, Yes, he takes a little bit of time to warm himself up and get into it, but once the Iceman is rolling, he's gliding, you know what I'm saying? So right now, I'm looking at Unfaizdd that he needs to just bring something new onto the table, something we haven't seen him do in a while, maybe that's going to ignite up the gameplay. Because where he's currently sitting, yes, he's still, in this conversation of potentially finishing in that top 4, making it into those playoffs, into that weekend, right? But this is going to be a big hurdle for him. This is going to be a big obstacle. Like Snare lined it all up for us, right? He goes down in this game, Bobo goes down in the next game, and then all of a sudden, it's a Young Savage story. He's starting to come up again.
Whew, there's a lot at stake. I mean, Snake, from your side, how would you compare this season to previous seasons of FIFA in the Umzansi Esports League?
This particular season seems to be one of the closest ones amongst all the iterations of the Umzansi Esports League that we've had. We've seen the prize pool, of course, become a much bigger piece for all of the players that have been involved. And right now, the competition at the level that it's at, before it was very clear that there were very certain front runners that you're like, this person seems like they're going to be able to carry it all the way through. Season 1, we had Unfaizdd, who just switched on after like week 3, week 4. Season 2, we had Masoom doing the same thing. And the warm-up of Young Savage from about week 5, week 6 in the previous season. But this time around, we're this deep into it, and we still don't have a guaranteed number 1 placing person. We still don't even have a guaranteed top 4. It's very close. It's very competitive. And that prize pool that we just saw there, that $2,500 for FIFA, could really belong to anybody in this season.
I mean, looking at the scores, it definitely would suggest that. Tendo, from your side, break this down for us. What have you been seeing so far, and how do you think we even gotten to this stage? I mean, so many changes has happened to the standing sheet in one day, in a few days. It's been crazy to see how everyone's been bouncing around.
Yeah, I mean, look at where Moby's sitting at the table as well, right? All of a sudden, from looking at somebody that was about to maybe make it into those playoffs position, he's in relegation, facing a really big hurdle in his own right. He has one more game to play for at least, right? And maybe, just maybe he can, snuff his way out of there. But look, middle of the table, it's hot, it's dangerous. Bobo, Unfaizdd, Young Savage, all still in contention to make it into that 4th spot. I think our top 3 is pretty much secured. Even if, Devalk loses the next game, he's still going to have, a lot more points than everybody else. So it's tough because Young Savage's game, if I'm not mistaken, we discussed this last week, is against Devok, for example. So that's gonna have to just be guns blazing all out for him. Not to show who Unfaizdd. No, Unfaizd's last game is today. No, he still has 2 in hand, right? So there's still something for him to work with. So like I said, today must win, even though he does have that game in hand, right? It's still going to be really crucial for him to try get these 9 points, try equalize himself with where Bobo is to try continue going forth. But Bobo, do or die, guys. I think if Bobo doesn't win right now, it's going to be just up to fate, up to chance for him. This is the last game for him to kind of spin it out, give it his all today against the Beast. And interesting enough, Bobo has taken down the Beast in the previous season, right? So that game's going to be interesting to watch.
And I mean, you mentioned it briefly, of course. The bottom 2 on the standings, they might face the top 2 from Nkosi in our next weekend for the promotion relegation games. So last weekend, it is crunch weekend for many of these players. As we mentioned before, it's do or die at this stage. Either you give your all, you do your best, and you hope for the best. Otherwise, unfortunately, we will be seeing 2 players going down to relegation. And potentially that means that's the end of Umzansi and their journey in Umzansi for them, which would be crazy to see. It would be crazy to witness. Snare, from your side, let's talk about our first game for today. Let's break it down. How do you think, what should we be expecting? Do you think there's a possibility as we look at it?
The thing that we should be expecting in that opening game is that Masoom, as it stands, has really been on fire. He's the person that's been gaining the most form, right? He seems as electric as he did in the season where he ended up winning. So you expect him to come out, not necessarily swinging out the gate. That's not his play style. It does take a bit of time to warm up, but the last few weeks, it seemed like that time that he needs to warm up has been getting smaller and smaller and smaller. The window to actually try and crack him is becoming increasingly more difficult to access. And the way that Unfaizdd also tends to play the ball, he doesn't always go play directly. He tries to figure out ways to float the ball on the wings in particular. And that can have a bit of a detriment against a player like Masoom, who utilize the chance and the time that that kind of approach requires to open you up as time goes on. So I think Unfaizdd also has more pressure on him. Masoom knows for a fact that no matter what, I'm through, right? I'm going to be in the playoffs. The only question is, am I going in first place, second place, third place? When it comes to Unfaizdd, he still has to earn his way there. For example, there's a world where he loses this game, and then suddenly he needs Bobo Beast to lose, because if Bobo Beast even draws, it's mathematically not possible for Unfaizdd to get in that way anymore. So there's all the pressure in the world on him to win. And this season, he hasn't necessarily displayed himself the best capable of handling that kind of pressure that comes with being on the cusp of victory, but not necessarily over the finish line.
Well, first game is underway, so I'm going to hand it over to your amazing casters. It's Snare, it's Tender Plays, taking you through the action of FIFA 22 today for the Umzansi Esports League Season 4. Guys, take it away.
Thank you. As Proxy, Tendo, what you got? We didn't actually have time to do predictions, so who you got on this one?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting day. I think if you're a Goliath fan, it's going to be, tugging at your emotions, because you probably want both players to win, but if both players wins, the one is going to suffer, right? So I want, or at least I'd like to see Masoom walking away this one, extending his lead, really dominating the season thus far. I think it's been a really good prospect to see him come out of the shadows, but we've got a really dangerous attack coming in here. Messi's on the ball. Messi gets stopped by the brick wall defense from Unfaizdd. And yeah, I mean, prediction-wise, I'm looking at, I want to say 3-2, going to Masoom in this one. What you saying?
3-2 Masoom does seem fair, given how he's been playing lately. I would edge him out. I'd say like 4-2, 4-3 maybe. But might be one of the first times ever that I'm brooding against Unfaizdd. But Masoom's form has just been electric of late. As now he does have to show the defensive nature of his form. He's dealing with this attack coming in from Unfaizdd. Young's in the middle of the pitch, trying to unleash Vinny Jr. Finally finds the pass, but can't get past the final defender easily. Mbappe still scoops up the ball, gets the roulette, and the shot comes off, but Donnarumma makes sure that it goes wide for a corner kick.
All right, we're seeing some activated play coming in from Unfaizdd. It's really good, right? I think against Masoom, you do have to attack quite early, get your players up front, kind of, shake him up a little bit, right? Because he is sometimes slow to these starts, and you can see it right now as he's on that back foot while defending. Rente kind of squanders the ball down the middle, but De Jong and himself get it back together. So now Vinny Jr. with Mbappe links up. Unfaizdd looking for a good attack. And Dembele takes the shot, gets the goal. And we're starting things off here in the Goliath camp.
Oh, the Goliath camp indeed is starting things off with a bang. Unfaizdd making ample use of this opening game minutes. Gets himself the early goal here. Masoom wants to counter immediately. Doesn't want to allow this to rest. Wants to bring it back to parity. Neymar gets the ball to Mbappe. It's open in space. Neymar's inside, but very good tackle from Marquinhos to ensure that it doesn't go into the back of the net. But what a way to open things up from Unfaizdd. This is the kind of pace that we haven't really seen from him all that much in this particular season of the Umzansi Esports League. But somehow he's bringing it on. He's turning it up in the crucial moments. What is it about these Goliath players that are coming in clutch when they absolutely need it?
Yeah, I think it's just, you know, a lot of regimenting that they must do to, you know, stay at the top of their game. Oh, this is looking like a good linker play. Dembele's in to Vinny Jr. Vinny Jr. The shot comes out of nowhere. The linker play from Unfaizdd. He's absolutely dismantling Masoom right now, and doesn't really seem like he's got an answer, but ball's reset. Mendy gonna try build it up from the back.
Wow. Okay. So, what a goal, actually, and what a statement from Unfaizdd. Now that he's got himself into this commanding position, Masoom is the one that has all the pressure to respond. 2 goals, markedly different from just the one, which is like, whatever, we can easily come back. But now Masoom has to have it in the back of his mind that this lead cannot be allowed to extend further. And Unfaizdd, yo, really back. Where was this the whole season? What's been happening here today? Wants to get himself the 3rd goal. Another floating pass. Will he get on the other side of it? Not fast enough. Mbappe is there, but Unfaizdd, he pioneered this strategy of always getting back on the ball, even out of dispossession. He's immediately on the attack. Neymar finds Laurent. Cycles it up to De Jong, who gets a beautiful pass to Dembele inside the box, and Dembele gets off the shot. Doesn't go into the back of the net, though. Donnarumma, good at the save.
Yeah, it's looking like... Oh, what a header! What a set play from Unfaizdd. And yeah, I mean, all right, Masoom, it's time to wake up, because right now the goals are flying in. At this rate, it's a goal every 10 minutes. So if that leads on to anything, we're going to get another one before this one ends from Unfaizdd. And, you know, I was going to actually ask you a question, you know, Sne, with the top, you know, with the top 4 as it stands right now, you'd probably say that Bobo is kind of like that wild card in that top 4. It's like, all right, cool. We see you there. You've been somewhat consistent throughout the season, but you haven't really solidified yourself as a top 4 right now. Looking at the bottom 4, Unfaizdd, right? It's probably, you know, a dark horse there as well. It's like, all right, I feel like if you had to look at who's in that spot, in that bottom 4, it's Unfaizdd and Young Savage, who were really wondering what's happening to them this season. Where have they been? Why have they been so asleep? Maybe this is the reason. He's been refining a lot of his plays. He's got some good link-up play here with Dembele once again. Dribbles past the keeper. But if not for Kimpembe, it would be another goal. And the prediction of a goal every 10 minutes would have happened here. But yeah, like I said, just the dark horse in the bottom 4, who we haven't really been talking too much about. But yeah, clearly he's definitely showing why he belongs in a playoff position.
Absolutely, and given that he's the one that has the 2 games in hand, he's the one that has the power position. He wins here and wins this next game. Doesn't matter what the results for Bobo, nor for Young Savage or Masoom. Try to get the ball into the middle of the box. Without for a corner kick, though, thanks to the efforts of the defender. Neymar will find himself short on the ball. Gets it out to Vinny Jr. Clarence Seedorf can't get it out just yet, but the dribbles, he gets out to Vinny Jr. Just dispossessed for a corner kick. But Masoom starting to put the pressure back on in the opposite direction. Wants to shut down this dark horse while he still can. 3 goals is very difficult to claw his way back from, especially without a goal of your own, and that goal will not be forthcoming. The defense from Young Savage, or from Unfaizdd, excuse me. Just got Goliath in my mind right now in its entirety.
Just a Goliath day, you know,
it's
shaping up.
I'm actually going to say that, like you're mentioning, we have this dark horse race, but the issue that we have is not that one dark horse. Between the 3 players, only 1 slot is truly available.
Yeah.
There's the maximum amount of points Young Savage, Unfaizdd, or Bobo Beast can claim is 12 overall, which is very shy of what's available at the very top between Masoom, Divac, and TheBeastBinachi. So between the 3 of them, none of them will be happy with any result that doesn't include them going into the playoffs. And the way it's looking right now, Unfaizdd could be the spoiler for both Bobo Beast and Young Savage if he keeps up this form. Because now he's also getting ahead on the goal difference, Sendo. Giving a player like Masoom 3-0, that's got to be healthy for your score sheet on both points and the GD.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's those little margins that we don't always, you know, look at until the end of the season when those slots have to be decided. Let's hope Masoom can activate in the second half. I'm trying to run it down the line with Mbappe. Mbappe finds a nice pass down the middle to Neymar. Neymar finds the ball in Vinny Jr. on it now. Messi to Neymar, but the defense is solid and they're holding it down. Marquinhos is going to clear and it's going to form a counter-attack now for Mbappe on the opposite end here for Unfaizdd, but Mbappe runs into traffic like it's 5 o'clock in Johannesburg.
But the ball though.
Yeah, they got the ball. They're playing it. Actually, the turnover's back into the hands of Masoom. Masoom now with Mbappe. Mbappe into Marquinhos.
Staunch Brazilian in the way of the ball, so you cannot get past them. The play will continue. Masoom in the situation certainly will not just be watching how the performance is going, but he's cognizant of time as well. The closer we get towards the end of the game, the more beneficial it is for Unfaizdd. Going into the second leg with this 3-goal cushion. Absolutely massive. Of course, Masoom can still present a spoiler. If Unfaizdd can score 3 in one game, Masoom can do the same. We've seen it happen on this very stage in the Umzansi Esports League Season 4. Let's see if he can make it happen with this attack. Messi getting into the box. He loses his man. Can he find a cross?
Whoa!
Holds it in. What a beautiful movement there from Messi.
Wow.
And Messi finds Neymar in the middle of the box. Into the back of the net. Wow, that was a spectacular finish. Pure elegance with the goal there from Masoom.
Yeah, and now I'm, starting to question, right? We always say Masoom slow to the start off, right? He had his first half with all these eggs spilling out, and now he's trying to pick them up. A couple of them aren't cracked, as it looks like, as he tries to build himself back into this game. And yeah, now 2 goals, you're starting to be like, yeah, come into the second leg, you can score 2 goals quite early in that first half, try to, equalize things, and then you can still get that winner. So Unfaizdd wouldn't really say he's in the steering, seat just yet, especially if he's only on a 2-goal, lead, because we know how... Okay, I thought I was about to eat my words, but the keeper there saves it. Donnarumma back at it, playing the short corner now to Dembele. And Unfaizdd is looking to extend his lead because he knows 2 goals ain't enough against Masoom, who's hungry to get back into this game.
Absolutely, the desire is present in every move that he's making on the pitch right now. Corner will go wide, but he will not be deterred just yet. Unfaizdd, can he somehow make this work for himself? Laurent will come out to find Dembele. Goes back to Kimpembe in the middle of the box. That the shot gets blocked by Masoom's Kimpembe. Now suddenly the counter might be on here. A lot of players with pace very far up on the pitch. It's a 3v4. Can he get past this man? What a sliding tackle. And it had to happen. It was a risky maneuver from Unfaizdd, but it had to be done. It prevents what might have been a very interesting goal that definitely changed the character and complexity of this game going forward.
Definitely, and you can just see how explosive it can be when you have Vinicius Jr. running down that wing, almost ran past all the defense, would have opened things up, but thankfully for Unfaizdd, he's able to sort out that. Vinny Jr., nice little pass there to Mbappe. Mbappe gets tackled by Marquinhos, who's been a standout defender. Him and Kimpembe, the pair, right? It just makes sense. They've been playing so well on a lot of these teams in the Umzansi Esports League here, hosted by Nodwin Gaming, and Mbappe on the ball once again for Unfaizdd, trying to run it in. Laurent Dembele runs into traffic. Hakimi, the prophet, comes through to save the day. And there's a channel there that he could have, exploited, I think, Masoom, but just didn't read it well enough.
Yeah, Vinny Jr. seemed open, but he somehow gets the ball to him anyway. He's inside the box, gets it out to Neymar, who's in a lot of space to find Mbappe. It will never miss from that range. Masoom, the Iceman, does not crack under pressure. You score 3 goals against me, I'll still stay solid, I'll stay calm. And we've been mentioning the entire time that he's slow to get off the mark. But I was actually about to mention that it's a bit concerning for me that he's been dealing so well with these attacks from Unfaizdd. Unfaizdd has been having difficulty really getting into the box as easily as he was at the beginning of this tie.
Yeah.
I think Masoom is starting to figure it out, starting to get used to it. And the longer Masoom goes without having to concede a goal, the more and more dangerous it's going to become in this tie. And the more and more Unfaizdd is going to watch what seemed a certain lead slipping away from his fingers here, Tendo.
Yeah, it really looks like the bravado man is in it. And he takes a shot with Vinny Jr. And all of a sudden, as we started the game off with 3-0, it's now 3-3. Masoom, like a doctor on a surgical bed, somehow finds all the arteries to bring himself into this one. And now, here we go once again. Vinny Jr. on the wing, trying to just bring his team back into this one Unfaized, and we're down to 82 minutes, and this tie has just flown by. level pegging, and you know what it's like in that level pegging situation. It's going to become a BO1 in that second leg, and that's the one that's just going to be guns blazing from both players. And Mbappe's in the for Unfaizdd, takes a wild shot, but if not for the Spider-Man goalkeeping from Donnarumma, that could have been a goal.
Looks like a certain goal here. This one, not as good with the delivery. It goes out for a goal kick. That's so tragic. Unfazed was really hoping to try and seal the deal here. Doesn't want to have a one-game situation against Masoom. Sadly, couldn't find the back of the net. And will now have to potentially defend against the last attack of this game. Masoom doesn't want to give up the ball in this position. He knows that if he can hang on to it, he might have the final say here. Playing very slowly. Zaidov, okay, loses his man. Finds Vinny Jr., who's trying to get wide on the ball. Actually, he's still keeping this in, but what a tackle.
Wow.
Come on, FaZe. He really wants this goal. Can he make it happen? The last bat of the cherry in this game. Vinny Jr. finds De Jong. Not enough space, though, to open up for Mbele, and he goes for the pass anyway. It gets intercepted by Fofana. That's going to be a Tendo. Goalkeeper will not be touching the last ball. Oh, Messi. He got on the other side. Maybe.
Yeah, just maybe. But I think that's it. Goalkeeper blows it, and I don't know what to say about that tie, to be honest with you. It felt like Unfazed really did his homework when we entered this one, right? You know, he had all the defending channels locked down. He had his attack on point, and then all of a sudden he starts to crumble in that second leg. I mean, that second half. It's like each player had their own half. He had the first, and then Masoom had the second. And now coming into this leg, Masoom's warm, right? He's shaked it off. He knows what's going to happen, and now you got to be worried for Unfazed, right? Because I'm just curious to find out who his final fixture is going to be, you know, in the Umzansi Esports League, you know, before it all ends off, because that's gonna ultimately be his decider if things continue going like this, right? Because there's no momentum in his favor right now. He had it all in the beginning, and now he's lost it. So, you know, the mental reset coming to the second leg, you don't even have that much time to mentally reset. Like, you know, so if you're Unfazed, what do you have to do? Because this is one of those games where the table is laid out for you. It's set up for you to kind of just get yourself in the lead, go ahead of Bobo, go ahead of Young Savage, and just have that steering wheel, that final game to kind of just, you know, secure yourself. But it's all falling away. He's slipping through your fingers at this moment.
Yeah, I think there's actually a bit too much on his mind right now. He has that dynamic in mind that I was there, I was ahead, but suddenly things were slipping away from me. He has this in his mind that, well, if this fixture doesn't go well, then I only have one final game to try and make this work out for myself. And he's experienced enough to know what kind of player Mobizilla is. Masoom is. That Masoom takes time to warm up.
Well,
but
speaking
once
of Moby, I did get confirmation that it's going to be Moby as Unfazed's final game.
But the thing is,
he does need to. It's interesting, right? Because yes, Moby sitting at the bottom of the table, you'd probably kind of give him the 3 points in the bag, right? But we don't know yet. We don't know what's going to happen with everybody else, right? Because even if he does win that final game, he'll only be on 9 points if he loses this game. So it's still kind of a must-win game for him. He can't really rely on that final game because one, you know, high-scoring game for Young Savage, and he's back in this one, you know, and or Bobo, who just needs, you know, that extra like win at the end. Probably even a draw would secure him, you know, at this rate. So to play for in the second leg, I think, between the two.
Absolutely. And Masoom, a lot less to play for. He's off to that top seed that he wanted to attain for himself. But here for Unfazed, it's his final opportunity to really solidify his chances. If he can win this one out, then there's a lot less pressure playing against Mobizilla. And of course, you can't forget that Bobo Beast still has to play the TheBeastBinachi later on today. So Unfazed is aware that he needs this W to stay in this. Otherwise, Bobo Beast could really put to paid any hope of him getting out. So once we get into this leg, he needs to get these goals, and he's off to a very good start with this attack. Oh, he tried to go back on the ball, but I feel like he could have tried to make the 1v1 situation happen with the keeper. Try to take the odds with the short corner, at the very least cut across on the net, but instead he goes for the pass, and it gets instantly dispossessed by Masoom.
You know, another thing that could happen is a draw, right? You know, I would say Masoom has a little bit of the edge, a little bit more of an advantage, right? Coming into this one with the momentum, but definitely you can't count out Unfazed thus yet. Like, I mean, look, he's running into this one. No one's defending him, gets the pass in, takes the shot, if not for the wall of defense to stop it, but Dembele's still on it. He goes down. The keeper's like, no, let's play on. Nothing's going on over there. Masoom now has the ball, finds this channel onto Mbappe. Mbappe's running it down, pulls it back. Defense trying to reset as much as they can, but Mbappe's still holding it. Mbappe finds a pass on to Neymar. Neymar now for Masoom, but the defense is going to be rock solid there. Okay.
passage of play from both players, but could easily have led into goals, but it doesn't end up happening just yet. We certainly were going to have a very high energy game in this one.
Yep.
Doesn't seem like either man is going to be compelled to play from the back foot. Every single ball. This kind of reminds me of the matchup that we saw between Masoom and TheBeastBinachi, where every single thing seems to be leading into some kind of goal. It's Dembele on the ball right now inside the box. Can he lose Marquinhos? Doesn't seem like it just yet. So not only can he not lose him, but Ferland Mendy ends up making the tackle and he keeps it inside play. What? That's like the second time that Masoom has done this. What ball control is coming in from the Iceman?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, you know, especially the last couple of fixtures, I've been noticing how clinical Masoom has started to become. You know, he's getting better and better, which is kind of crazy to say because, you know, he's one of the top in the country already, right? So just to show that regardless of how, you know, great you are, guys, there's always room for improvement. There's always room to get better. And he's always impressing us, especially coming out from that deficit in that first leg to come now into this one and really give himself a fighting chance. The shot from Messi will get caught by Donnarumma, but passes it back to Messi. All right, so like they're playing a game together at this rate. Just the two of them. Messi's still in the box. Messi is getting cut off well, though, by the defender. But, you know, the question I was actually going to lay us off before all that crazy play. But before I say it, Mbappe's in. But Mbappe gets tackled by the defense. But Snare, a draw? How does that shake up the table at that point, right? Because, yes, it's unlikely, but very probable, just based on, you know, how that first leg went.
They do end up drawing, and none of these players can get themselves fully ahead. Unfaizdd might break this deadlock. Hold on. Let's see with this attack. Dembele on the other side of the ball. He's inside the box, but it doesn't go in. If they do end with a draw here, Unfaizdd will take it. It'll put him on 7 points, and it'll still allow him almost to go in. Hold on. He's in now with the attack. Mbappe stops him, says no, also stops me and my sentences. I'm not going to be able to talk about anything except this game here. But he'll take a draw. It still allows him to get back in. And with a pass like this, it might not be a draw. It might be a win because he gets it into the back of the net. Unfaizdd opens up the scoring here in the second leg. He is on with the first opening goal. He says, draw for what? I'm here for the 3 points and nothing else.
Definitely showing exactly his caliber of player. Unfaizdd, beaten down 3 goals in a row after he scored 3 himself, and now he pulls himself back into this leg, and you gotta commend him. Still not over yet, right? Masoom still looking for this winner, trying to pull himself in that lead now with Mbappe on the ball, but defense is closing him down. But Messi can find a channel onto Vinicius to Messi. Messi's in a spot to get intercepted by Navas, and now it'll be reset. Llorente, and I think if he scores here and Unfaizdd, you know, it might be a little bit tough to get this win for Masoom. Yes, he can probably still draw it because evidently it's possible, but yeah, that win is probably going to start to slip away from his fingers.
We also have to acknowledge that for Masoom, he doesn't need to level up as much as Unfaizdd needs to. So Unfaizdd, sometimes hunger can just unleash the best player within you. And that pressure seems to be working out finally for Unfaizdd. He's on the back of the ball. He's even doing this amazing press that he used to be doing in the previous seasons of this league. And he might be going back into the playoffs if he can continue this kind of press. As Lorenz gets on the other side of the ball, Neymar finds Mbappe. He's unable to do too much with the ball. Forced back into the midfield. Frankie de Jong holds it up long enough for Dembele to start running a bit forward. The space is opening up. Mbappe is on the ball right now, but ooh, very firm challenge. Masoom's having none of it. Trying to get the ball as far away from the attackers as possible. Even to the point of slowing down the ball, playing it out from the keeper here, Tendo.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a back and forth though. You know, just with the advantage obviously leaning into Unfaizdd. Masoom still in this one. Well, maybe not in this one with that kind of pass. So Unfaizdd has the option with channel here to run it down with Dembele, but Marquinhos is there to snuff that one out. So Masoom on the attack once again. And this run is questionable from the defender. Doesn't look like it's going to really amount to much. And now it's opened things up greatly from Mbappe on the opposite end here for Unfaizdd. What a pass! But the keeper's there to stop it. He takes it out. It's going to go to halftime, and that could have been it, I think, you know.
That would have been a sinker. Close to being it. Yeah, if you get a goal like that, it's not just great for you, but kind of puts your opponent on notice that, listen, this game is kind of over at this point in time. Amazing block there from Donnarumma. Would have been 2-0. The brace would have helped him. Unfaizdd will still have to do this the hard way as we get into the final 45 minutes.
Yep.
Masoom, this is his last chance. If he wants the points, doesn't need them, but player of his caliber will always be upset about not winning a game. Each game is its own little battle, its own little tournament. And you're always upset when you lose that battle. So we get into this leg here, Tendo. He needs to get up, but Unfaizdd, not even allowing him to get off on the kickoff line. Immediately on the press, immediately he's on the ball, and now trying to string together the momentum needed to get himself the goal. Laurent tries to find Mbappe. Gets back on the ball, though. Doesn't get dispossessed. Neymar keeps the ball in his possession for Unfaizdd, so he can get as many players forward as possible. And look at Mbappe. He's trying to poach there on the wing. Not the easiest place to run into, though. But look at the patience from Unfaizdd. He's willing to just hold on to this ball. As long as he has it, he knows that he's in control of the game. And it becomes a lot harder to play for Masoom from that position, given that Masoom is not really necessarily like a counter-attacking player. He loves his time on the ball. Now he might prove me wrong here. Sadov looking for this run. He's basically walking into the box. But Unfaizdd says no. He says no.
Yeah, I just don't think he had too many options there that he was happy with, you know, Masoom. So he was just trying to hold on to the ball until one of the players finds a decent run. But he's back on it at least, and there's the run he's looking for with Messi! How does he get that shot in? With the defender on him, it's 4-4 once again, and it's the close game at least that, you know, we had predicted. But I didn't predict it to go, you know, 8 goals already in this thriller, basically.
Wow,
So we just try to reset things. Yeah, what a goal, right? I mean, I thought surely the defender's gonna disrupt it a little bit, but no, Messi finds it in anyways.
The ball control that we've seen from Masoom in these like extremely tight situations, just keeping the ball in on the touchline, being able to get like minute dribbles past defenders, being able to get goals like that where he barely even touches the ball but squeezes it into the back of the net. Masoom, give him the chance, give him the opportunity, and he will take it as Fofana finds Messi again, who's unleashed there on the wing, goes for the shot, doesn't go to the back of the net, but will draw the corner kick. We'll still have a goal-scoring opportunity from here, but Neymar, an errant pass, he ends up giving the ball away, so Unfaizdd now might have a chance to respond to the goal he's just conceded.
Yeah, and honestly, the more and more we, you know, get deeper into this season, the more games I watch from Masoom, you know, you gotta respect him, man, because he does not panic under any pressure. I mean, what, he was 3 goals down? It's now tied up once again after he went down in this game, you know, even though it was just a 1-goal deficit. But now we're on 4-4. It's all laid up. We have a lot of minutes to work with. He's on the ball. He's holding it well. Mbappe back with it. Mbappe is looking dangerous in this kind of position. But, oh, man, the channels are not open. But that one is covered at least well from Unfaizdd. And Unfaizdd really needs to try and string an attack of his own because he hasn't gotten anything in the last 10, 15 minutes of this tie. Really needs to try and, you know, find something at the back of the net if he wants to put himself in a guaranteed position to kind of close himself off into that top 4 position.
Not surprising is how similar this game has looked to the first game. With Unfaizdd starting off in the very dominant position, and as time goes on, Masoom figuring him out, doing more and more to keep him out of the box, but he's in the box again right now. Unfaizdd. Unfortunately, where Donnarumma was, he was covering the center of the box itself, so he tried to curl it around him, but a bit too much power on the ball. Can't get it into the back of the net. We still have a contest here. Masoom certainly will not give up, will never panic under any circumstances. I feel like we need to change his name from like the Iceman to maybe a surgeon or something. Anything could be happening and he will not drop his scalpels. His tools are always available. Neymar finds Messi.
Oh, the
gets it off to Sadov. Sadov gets the shot, but it doesn't go to the back of the net. It's still in play though for Neymar. Gets it back to Vinny Jr. Can't do anything with it though because Masoom finds himself facing the brick wall, running towards him. Unfaizdd is willing to drag out Marquinhos to deal with the ball. Big risk, but it ends up paying off. Keeping this still at level pegging, it is still 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, Masoom has a third eye at this point because he sees all those channels, you know, like where the players are running in. It's like he's not even watching the ball sometimes. He's just watching what movements the players are making, which is a really good thing from him, right? And it's what really has been opening him up to, you know, kind of wanted to change his name from the Iceman to the Surgeon. Maybe that's his season 4 title, you know. Iceman, season 3. This season he comes back. Whoa, what kind of pass is that to Dembele? But Donnarumma, what?
Are you kidding me?
Are you joking?
Are you kidding me? All right. His composure, honestly. Masoom's composure is a bit much. Like, in that situation, he sees the ball coming, recognizes the danger, drags out Donnarumma. A lesser player would not have had the time to respond, but Masoom makes it happen and is in on the counter-attack. Seedorf, can he get past his man? No, he cannot. Jesus Navas on the interception. But Masoom, so impressive there. What a... Yeah, I don't know.
What a player.
Who is this guy? What a player. Just what a player.
What a player, you know. I think last season, he just fell a little bit short, right? He was definitely performing at, you know, this caliber. Now he's definitely dialed it up a little bit. And now you can definitely see him as, you know, in that top two, really dominating the league. And he still has something to work with here. A few more minutes to, nice little pass to open up some space there as well. We got a couple of players running forward. He really needs to slice open the defense, because the defense on Unfaizdd side has also just been looking superb, right? Because at every opportunity that Masoom's had to attack, he's been good. You know, it'll be great.
Get this. Is he gonna get this goal? Donnarumma's on the other side of it. Only got a few minutes left, Tendo. We've only got a few minutes left. 2 minutes left for Unfaizdd for him to try and rewrite how his story has been going. A draw will help, but it still has him in a very sweaty position. Very carefully watching what happens in the game with Bobo Beast and the TheBeastBinachi. However, a win here would really change his fortunes. But for Masoom, there's a reason why his team is called Invincibles FC. If he comes away, if nothing changes, if he doesn't lose, he'll be the first player in the Umzansi Esports League history. And he's done it now. As the whistle goes, Masoom, Tendo, that he's done here. That he's done. He's not just come back and demonstrated that he has surgeon levels of composure and confidence. He's not just put on an amazing show from behind in the way he's done it, but he's become the first player in Umzansi Esports League history to go a full season, league season, undefeated.
Oh, and superb, honestly, coming in from Masoom. I think, like I said, from the beginning of the season, the deeper we get into it, you know, I've just been falling more in love with just his play style, with how clinical he can be on that ball. And I mean, as just, you know, the resilience to come back from such a deficit, right? Yes, it's a draw. Yes, you're bittersweet, you know, with that kind of situation, but you have to give it to him to hold his composure to get those kind of results.
Absolutely insane as we look at it. Masoom, woo, Unfaizdd, woo. I mean, both of these players just absolutely phenomenal work. Really, I mean, from both sides, there was just some crazy goals. I mean, I was hearing you guys screaming all the way over here, and it was just absolutely phenomenal to watch. Snare, from your side, what are your thoughts on this matchup? What we've just seen?
What we've just seen is just Masoom demonstrate that right now he is in a league on tier of his own in the way that he's able to play this game out. There's pretty much no situation, no circumstance on the pitch that's ever going to truly phase him. Unfaizdd, of course, did his best to do that, put through a lot of goals against Masoom, and this was a resurgence on Unfaizdd as well. He hasn't necessarily displayed this degree of character, this degree of excellence on the pitch for quite a while. Unfortunately, it just comes a little bit too late into the season. He does get rewarded, though. He's one of the only players to take points off of Masoom by getting themselves this draw. He has the 1 point. He still has a shot. If Bobo Beast comes away with a loss here today, Unfaizdd has a chance still to leapfrog him on his final game. But the real story is the dominance of Masoom. Look how far ahead he is of everybody else. 15 goal difference, 0 losses, completely undefeated. Just an absolute monster. And I feel like going into these playoffs, that fourth spot, we've been talking about how 3 players all are vying for it or all fighting for it. But it can't be comfortable knowing that even if you get that 4th slot, the first person you have to play against might be Masoom. That's not a place I want to be at this point in time.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't think anyone would want to actually find themselves in that spot. But, I mean, if you're in, you're in, right? At least you get the opportunity to play for that prize pool. But... Ew. Yeah, no, I don't think it would be a good time. Let's take a look at the next matchup that we should be expecting, and let's talk a little bit about what we should, you know, actually look for when we go into this matchup next. It is going to be an interesting one. As we said, you know, there's still many opportunities here, and it is the crunch weekend. It is the last opportunity for many of these players to potentially, you know, just hop and skip up that standing. So hopefully get into a position where they will be able to move on. Dendo, from your side, with our next matchup, what are you thinking?
Do or die for Bobo, I think, right? Especially how that one ended. You know, I think right now Bobo just needs to smash this one out of the park and just secure himself into that playoff position with, like, you know, this game, and it's tough that it has to be the Beast, but this is where champions are built. This is how it happens, right? You know, he's just gonna have to come into this one. The Beast is gonna be looking to top the table, right? Because if he wins this, I believe he'll top the table, even though Masoom had a superb season and 2 draws, you know, too many points lost along the way, but Beast once again can come up here at the top. So Bobo's done it once here. Do you guys think Bobo can do it again? That's the real question. With all the pressure on top of him right now.
Yeah, it's beyond pressure because he knows that should he win, if he grabs the dub, he gets through, no questions asked, he's in through the playoffs, and that locks out both Unfaizdd as well as Young Savage. But he knows that if he loses, suddenly then his own destiny is not in his hands anymore. Then he's hoping and praying that Unfaizdd and Young Savage have poor results in their upcoming fixtures. And the way things are going right now, you know, it's not a hope that you really want to be relying on. You really need to take this victory. If he gets it, that's going to be such a huge thing. Second time beating TheBeastBinachi. I mean, TheBeastBinachi almost went undefeated and all wins in the 3rd season. I was only spoiled by Bobo. So if he can do that kind of thing again, especially it's a new game, we've seen him really look a lot more dynamic, really look like that dark horse player you were talking about earlier. And if he can just channel that energy again, gets the 12 points, then suddenly we have a situation where he's the one that's writing a similar story that Young Savage wrote in the last season, coming up from the Nkosi Super Cup, working hard, grinding it out, learning from your contemporaries, learning from those who have climbed the mountain before you, and then you climb the mountain yourself. This could be the year of Bobo Beast. He could be the one to suddenly shake things up and bring us a new winner, because we still have not had a defending champion. He might be the one to clear it out, right? Making sure that we have 2 Nkosi Super Cup challenges that take the crown at the end.
That is a lot to consider as we get into the next game. It's going to be absolutely, I mean, critical. I mean, we've also seen TheBeastBinachi have an insane day this season where, I mean, everything was just going his way. He had a forfeit go his way. He had another match go his way. Then the game he actually got to play, he went absolutely fit. I don't know how we could describe the Beast on that day. Just everything was falling, pretty much. Everything was just falling into place for him. And now, you know, we have to break it down. Okay, Bobo Beast or Bianchi. Let's do some predictions here. Tendo, what are you thinking?
You know, it's a tough one, right? Because we just had a draw, so the possibility of a draw right now is just kind of out of the window for me, because I don't think we'll ever, you know, sit here and watch 2 draws in a row. I think that'll be a hectic day if that happens, but it can happen, right? Because if he draws, then he's ending on 10 points, right? Unfaized statistically can only get to 10 points even if he beats Moby. So now goal difference. So that's a whole parable of its own. Let's not even get into that, right? So we'll have to just give it, I think for myself, it's gonna be, you know, towards TheBeastBinachi. I just think he's just been so on form this season that, yes, Bobo is a rising prospect. Yes, you know, he's got all this energy coming into the league, but the Beast almost went undefeated himself this season, right? If not for that one game where everything just went south for him. And who did he end up losing to? None other than the one who's sitting at the top right now, right? So it's kind of like, yeah, sure, you lost it, but it's Masoom. It's whatever, right? You know, you're both really competing at this high level, and you're kind of considered in that top 3, you know, discussion. So, TheBeastBinachi for me, I'm looking at like 5-3.
Okay, Snake, what you thinking? Is the Beast taking it, or are we seeing a different story?
Under normal circumstances, I would definitely say that the Beast would take this, and the Beast is definitely favored. Even though this is the retread of the matchup, he wants revenge as well. Never wants to be losing to the same person 2 seasons rather, running. That being said, every time I've been watching Bobo play lately, I've been, you know, when you just get this feeling about a player that, like, okay, they've figured out something, not just about the game, but about their own understanding and their own approach to the game. And that particular understanding is helping him just play really, really well and punch like far above his weight class. And it sort of feels like this might be the season of Bobo. When the game does end up happening, I think it's going to be very close. I actually see TheBeastBinachi winning the first leg and Bobo somehow mounting a comeback. So I would say 4-3 Bobo, actually. Either 4-3 Bobo, or we actually might have a double draw. I have a feeling we have a day of surprises happening today. No. And I'm also kind of hoping it's a draw, because if it is a draw, then that means that we still have to, like, then tomorrow really does come down to the wire. If it's a loss, then it's a situation where, okay, then tomorrow's even worse for him, right? Because then 2 different people could potentially go over him. But I have a feeling it's either a draw or a slight win for Bobo Beast. I really feel like he's leveled up. His understanding of the game has improved. He's developed a lot as a player. His defensive attributes, they were really shaky at times in previous seasons, but he clearly is the person that has learned the most from the difficult losses, from having to come up through the promotion relegation battle, from having to come all the way from the Ngozi Super Cup. And I think he is really well placed to utilize those lessons to beat the Beast again. You know, he might be one of the only people to do so back-to-back seasons ever in any kind of competition that TheBeastBinachi has played.
Okay. Well, I think that should be pretty interesting. If we take a look at it, I mean, it definitely would make this crunch weekend even more stressful. As you mentioned, it would come down to the absolute wire, and we won't know until the end of today, end of tomorrow, rather. We should be seeing next week or the weekend thereafter. Of course, those promotion relegation matches are also going to be quite interesting to witness. Top two from Nkosi and the bottom two from Umzansi, who unfortunately, you know, it's going to have to be someone. We don't want anyone to go, but it has to be someone. That game getting underway right at this second. So I'm going to give it over to your wonderful casters. It's Snare, it's Tendo Plays. Guys, take it away.
Thank you. Yes, Proxy. And here we go. Let's do it, Tendo.
Yeah, last game for the day.
Yep.
Let's see exactly what it's going to be. Okay, cool. Thought maybe Bobo was going to surprise us right off and early with a quick little goal there, but no, it's fine. Everything is still calm and steady, as it does look like the Beast will be able to recycle the ball and just get himself ready to go. And yeah, this is a dangerous game in whichever direction you have to look at it, I think, Snare, right? The pressure, I wouldn't like to be in this position. And all of a sudden, it's just crumbling to pieces, but not actually, as the keeper lunges down to send it wide, goes to the corner. So now the Beast is still on it. Finds Sanchez in the box here to Mbappe. The shot again. All right, I think the Beast is also awake here. Both Beasts are beasting, it looks like right now.
Yep. TheBeastBinachi doesn't want to have to give up his title. He had to do it last season. Had to acknowledge Bobo Beast. Doesn't want to do it twice in a row. But Bobo might have to force him to, but the Beast still on the attack. Somehow this ball is just not leaving this final third. It's in the box with Ginola. We've seen the kind of damage he can do from this position on this player. Doesn't manage to get here into the box though. We're playing very slowly. Finds Messi hanging around the edges of the box. Will he be able to find a partner inside of it? Not just yet. Being kept out. Ferdinand Mendy doing his job right now. Gets on the other side of a pass. Will prevent the easy goal there for the TheBeastBinachi. And now looking like he might want to try and mount an attack. Very interesting way to get the ball out. We don't see players playing high over the final defender that often. But he does it in his own third. And that's going to allow him to get back into midfield and alleviate some of the pressure that the Beast was putting him under.
Yeah, he just seems a little bit scrambled, you know, Bobo right now. But looks like he's finding his way back into this one. Finding a little bit of composure as he's trying to work his way in. Laurent onto Neymar. Neymar is in a dangerous spot here. Vinny Jr. finds his way past the defender, and the defender is going to send it out. I think maybe, yeah, that's going to be a set play here. Is he going to take this one with a cross, it looks like, Bobo? Is he working on something we haven't seen? No, it's actually just going to be a short corner like most players would do in this kind of situation, and the Beast is ready for it, but not quite, as it's still scrambled. And Bobo's still in it. Bobo still has some room to work with. Bobo finds the pass. Bobo finds the shot! But the keeper says, no, not today. And it's just been a keeper highlight reel so far.
Oh my gosh, what a save. That save honestly seems a little bit impossible, but he pulls it off regardless. Comes out, keeps the ball clear. And that easily could have been Bobo Beast putting himself ahead in that situation, but doesn't get into the back of the net. TheBeastBinachi, not a player that's known to panic, so immediately back on the ball, not worried about it going in. And a beautiful ball to Pele. But unfortunately, the ball finds itself taken away by the great prophet. Achraf Hakimi is on it. Make sure that Bobo Beast is string together a counter-attack just as quickly as he was under the pressure himself.
Yeah, oh, nice little pass in. Can't go past the keeper. The keepers today are on something. I want to be on whatever they're on because they're just stopping it all. And it's still level peggy, 24 minutes into this one. And, you know, you'd have to say it's going good for Bobo thus far, right? Considering who's his opponent, the Beast. And the Beast seems to be firing up nice and early, right? Beast is also another one of those players that can sometimes be slow to start off, but the shot...
What? No! No! Oh, your heart just breaks for Bobo. How could that happen?
How does that happen?
Space, he gets the shot, gets the angle. with a little bit too much power, so it sails just north of the crossbar. Oh, that is such a tragic situation. And TheBeastBinachi trying to take advantage of this moment of sadness, of this grief, to make the grief even worse. Slotting in a goal himself on the other side of the park. Pele makes this 1-0. TheBeastBinachi is ahead.
Now I'll cry today, honestly. You ever watch a FIFA game and you're just like, nah, man, they did him wrong there. That should have been a goal for him. It's actually just, so tragic because you're Bobo in that situation, and everything correctly, opened up the space. You think you're gonna get the goal in, goes a little bit too wide, and the man recycles the ball all the way into your post, and that's just how it is sometimes. And now the Beast back on top, and I believe the Beast, if he wins this one, will be back-to-back, regular season champion, right? You finish first last season, if I'm not mistaken. You'll finish first again this season, so on form as usual.
Might work against him though. As far as, we pretty much never had a champion that ends the season as top seed. I think Masoom might have done it in season 2, if I remember correctly, but I'm not sure. Yeah. And Beast can't keep control of this ball. Still though, that was the thing that I loved about the Beast, is you can also smell these moments of weakness. Every single time your players befallen by bad luck, it feels like that's when the Beast really wants to get a goal in, compound your misery. And though, we've also seen Bobo come back a lot in this season. Like, most of his wins have been comebacks, not necessarily him getting off on the front foot to begin with. Let's see if that's going to be another day that he does this once more. As one goal we've seen many times here in the Umzansi Esports League, brought to you by Northern Gaming Africa. One goal is just not enough just yet. I mean, hell, we just saw Masoom come back against 3.
Yeah, man, I mean, it's been hectic thus far, and guys, honestly, shout out to Snare, amazing caster, Sitting here sometimes with him, he'll say some crazy things that I'm like, I should have thought of that. How do you think of that? Compound your misery. All right, that's my tweet for the day, probably, as Bobo's trying to make his way back into the box, and it's just TheBeastBinachi, a brick wall in front of him, no real room for him to work with. Sanchez now is on the ball for the Beast, and yeah, there's a couple of channels for him to work with. He finds the one on the wing where Messi is, and Messi now can be a dangerous prospect from this position if he can get it into the box. He's playing it on the line, just a bit too much on the line, goes out for a goal kick.
Game is so stressful right now to watch. Every single time the ball is in that position, you think this might be the goal. It really seals the deal. Bobo, okay. A little bit of a cheeky pass, but gets read very well here by TheBeastBinachi. Gets on the other side of it, makes sure that it doesn't go too much further than that. And it feels like he's starting to really control this game now, the Beast. At this point in time, Bobo Beast has been struggling more and more to get the ball further up. And we see where the midfield of the game is becoming. Further up in the line, Ginola now trying to get into the box, gets there, but is dispossessed. We're slowly but surely playing closer and closer naturally towards where Bobo Beast's goals are. That's going to be putting the young man under pressure at this point in time.
Yeah, man. I think it's looking a bit tough for Underdog FC right now, It doesn't really feel like he has any footing in the game. Yes, he's getting these attacks that are a little bit explosive up in that final third here and there, but it's not finding the back of the net, not finding the shots on target like the Beast right now. Yes, it is just one goal towards him, but feeling more dangerous on that attack. And if you're Bobo, you really need to make sure this game plan that you have coming into this is solid, because there's no room for cracks or leaks. And thus far, he's let a little bit of water seep through. Can't let any more water seep through, or else, it's just going to be flooding everywhere. Ginola on the ball once again, running past. Okay, well, doesn't run past all the defenders. It looked like he was lining himself too. Now, Bobo can recycle the ball. Try gets his tack on. Only has the one wing player to work with and holds on to it for now at least.
Okay. In the ball. He's not allowing himself to get dispossessed easily. Finds Vinny Jr. Might be in a good deal of space. Kimpembe, though, it's drawn off the line, and Vinny Jr. is under the game. The shot into the top bottom corner. Curls past the keeper. Nothing he can do about that. Bobo Beast has done it. He's on back level. It's 1-1 right now, Timbo, and TheBeastBinachi be a little bit frustrated about that one. He thought he had the defense, but Bobo Beast had his number in that situation.
Yeah, definitely had his number. And that's when you can see the moments of brilliance from Bobo, right? He finds the right pass there, plays it off Vinny, back into him, right? And runs it down, gets that beautiful shot in. And it's not quite secured yet, to say that the momentum's in his favor. I think Beast can work off, negative momentum all the time when he's get that goal scored against him. But Bobo's doing well to retain the ball after that that goal because you're most vulnerable after you score. He's looking to break that curse with Lorente, and now that the keeper, the defense is just gonna keep that ball away from the post.
What can you do here? He's on it with Messi. And I was actually, yesterday when we were casting with Euro OG, I was talking a little bit of trash about Messi, and it does seem like, all the players might have heard me because today Messi's been on form, playing amazingly as a card. But Vinny Jr. has really been the revelation of the season as an attacking player. And he earns himself a free kick here in a very dangerous position in this final third. Is he going to go long for it? Calling Dembele potentially to go short rather, and indeed he'll opt for that. Dembele, back to Neymar. They pass middle, but Laurent. Interception is on from Ginola. Not a lot of attacking players, but a lot of very fast players are on the break. Messi, and you get past Marquinhos, doesn't seem like it. So this will at least buy time for Bobo Beast to get his lines back in order. Will he have it back in time? Yes, he will. Yes, he will.
Yeah, Bobo's really composed himself well in this second half, I think. He's starting to string a couple of attacks of his own, and this pass is great here to Dembele. Dembele's on it in the box. Kimpembe's trying to pull back to hold on to the defense, and he has well. But now he still has control of the ball with Vinny Jr., who looked to line up a shot, but the defense was there to stuff it out.
Ooh, defense at the last second. Oh no, Renato Sanchez gets dispossessed. Fortunately, Mbappe can't get on the other side of the through ball from Dembele. If that happened, would have been probably staring at a 2-goal win right now, a lead at the very least for the time being. But Bobo Beast will not get that lucky. Still has to do this the hard way. Got about 20 minutes of normal time left here, Tendo, and it doesn't seem like anybody's gained a full advantage since we've seen Bobo Beast leveling up here in the second half, and now might level up further with this attack. This possession will be on from the BeastBinachi.
Yeah, I held on to the ball a little bit too long there, even though he had a couple of options to work with the pass. And now the Beast is going to run the ball up on the wing here. Messi on it, and Messi gets dispossessed. Let's see what Bobo can string up with this one. Vinicius, and definitely, like you said, has definitely been a standout play. What a pass into Lorente! Lorente takes a pass to keeper. The shot's in. There's nothing you can do about that. Underdog FC pulling himself into the lead here, Bobo Beast. And this is the storyline, right? This is, the underdog storyline coming in from last season, just managing to stay in through the, those Prem relegation, and now he's trying to dominate through it. And if he takes down the Beast, that's going to be something, right? Because now Masoom's going to finish top of the table. The Beast's going to be, I think, probably second place, but actually Devox still has that one game in hand, so we'll have to see what's going on with that one there. It's starting to, ring a lot of excitement, for me over here, because the Beast is asleep all of a sudden. He looks so explosive, so aggressive in the beginning, and what's going on here, Sneh?
It actually feels like Bobo Beast is figuring out how to play around him. In particular, I think the Beast has really struggled to make use of Ginola, which has been one of his premier weapons in this particular season of the Umzansi Esports League. Without Ginola being able to make those incisive dribbles on the receiving end of key passes that float over defenders, Beast seems to be having trouble with this attacking prowess. So Bobo Beast has prepared well. You said that he needs to have a good game plan, and that plan certainly seems to be working right now. Is he going to be in on the break after he gets a very good interception right off the kickoff? Not going to be allowing the Beast to get anything going.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, yeah. If Bobo wins this, right, then GG, the two Goliath players, right? That's basically what's going on.
Whoa! If Bobo wins,
no, it's still a second one to play for, right? And it is still the Beast who, historically works well with being at the back foot. So let's see exactly how he can activate himself here. Still has a few minutes to work with, 12 to be in fact, and he's just squandering passes, squandering the ball. Bobo took his time to really enter the game, but now he's really in it. He's really playing. He's finding some good passes in here. He's got Vinicius, who's on the run. One player's down the middle as well. What can he do from the spot? But the defenders, they're just not enough gas in the tank from Vinicius to really run it down.
Very good game sense there on the defense from the BeastBinachi. Had he gone in immediately to try and run him down, it would have opened up the space for Mbappe, but make sure that Kimpembe closes off the passing line and closes down the player simultaneously. Amazing defense from the BeastBinachi. Will prevent him from going down to a 3-goal deficit, but unfortunately 2 is already happening right now.
Yeah, I think now we're going into the second leg, right? And if it still stays as it is, then if you're the Beast, it's going to be tough to kind of, climb back, because it definitely Bobo can score against you, right? That's the first thing that, you come into a fixture like this. Can the underdog get a goal? As soon as they can, then we can start to have this discourse around, like, yeah, there's a possibility that this might not be that easy for the Beast, and it's definitely not right now with this 2-goal deficit, and he's still on the attack here with Vinicius. Can he make something happen? Lots of defenses behind already, though, and beautiful slide tackle comes in there from the defender, but still on to Vinicius. Yo, they're mangling that poor man, dude. Oh my goodness. The pass is still on, though, from Mbappe. Mbappe's gonna run it in. Gonna hold it on the wing, though.
Very nicely done. Mbappe keeps this ball. Oh, almost got dispossessed. Well, he actually does get dispossessed eventually. TheBeastBinachi will be able to at least prevent another goal, but unfortunately for him, he cannot prevent the first leg from going the way of Bobo Beast. 3-1. It's not a slight victory by any stretch of the imagination. It's not a lucky victory by any stretch of the imagination. Yet again, 2 seasons in, and he's beating the TheBeastBinachi clean here, and doing it in a way that he's clearly planned for. He's dismantled it. He's done everything in his power to make sure that the TheBeastBinachi is not allowed to play his usual style, his usual brand of dominant football.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, right? Because like you said, second time, this fixture is happening and it's really Bobo that's shining, right? And you got to ask yourself the question, in every league, the top dogs always seem to have this one dark horse team that they're never able to really figure out, right? Is Bobo Beast? The TheBeastBinachi's like dark horse, he's kryptonite low-key in this kind of situation, right? It's quite interesting to see, especially if we can continue this momentum, right? Because then next season we're coming and we see this fixture and it's like, yeah, Bobo, right? Right? You know what I mean? Like, then we're gonna have to start speaking about that, discussing that. So Beast now has to come in with a different game plan, because clearly what he brought into this fixture today isn't really working out for him.
Yeah, how he was playing this game out, it didn't really work out. And the really scary and sad thing for him is not that he didn't have the opportunities going forward, but it was like you were mentioning towards the latter half of that game. He wasn't playing with the same degree of clinical players. Like, he was sloppy. I hate to say it about the TheBeastBinachi, but he actually was. On the attack, right? When he tried to move the ball up, he wouldn't always be as incisive with picking out the right player. Janola was pretty much a non-factor, which meant that he was always forced to play the ball in from very wide positions. We saw, for example, how much more important Messi was in this particular game, right? And normally for the TheBeastBinachi, Messi is sort of a bit player. It's not like his main centerpiece of his attack, but he was forced into that role in this game. Him, Neymar, the ways that he was able to keep him out and force him to play in this very high fashion that TheBeastBinachi not necessarily used to. Bobo Beast definitely came in with a game plan in mind. And I think what I really like about how he played the game out is that he didn't do it while sacrificing defensive prowess. That's what we keep talking about, his level up in the defensive game. Compare Bobo Beast Season 3 to Season 4 of the Umzansi Esports League, brought to you by Not Gaming Africa. And this is a transformed player, especially at the back. And it allows him to keep the pressure up, right? Because in the past, players would be like, well, I can concede goals against Bobo Beast because I'm almost guaranteed to score many against him. Now that's not the case anymore. Now, when he scores 1 goal against you, you have to start panicking a bit, like, will I get one back? And that extra panic, that extra second of hesitation, that's how you end up losing in these championship caliber matches. And Bobo Beast has been exploiting the learning journey to force the Beast into that bad situation.
Yeah, it's always that what's the word I want to use here? There's always this underlining feeling about being a top dog, right? Where, yes, top of your game, things can go well for you, but when you're at the top of the game, that means everybody's studying you and trying to understand exactly how you play, right? To, just match that energy of yours. And Bobo seems to be matching the energy of the Beast himself, right? So right now, we'll have to see how it goes. We're coming into this second leg right now, and it does look like Beast is off to staggering start here. Messi's on the ball, and there's so many defenders in front of him. He's still got ball retention somehow. He's trying to weave his way through. Finds the pass in the shot. The goalkeeper's like, no, not today.
Incredible block. Make sure to just keep him out. Make sure to not allow him to get this early goal. And that must be a little bit heartbreaking, but he's not done just yet. He's inside here, getting these dribbles. Mbappe, can he get past this man? Marquinhos is stuck to him. not allowing him to progress anywhere up the pitch, and he forces the ball to Renato Sanchez, and he tries to find the turn here inside the box with Fofana, but unfortunately got blocked. Still has possession though. BeastBinachi doesn't want to give up. He's pressing, he's drilling, he's doing everything. Can he get inside the box again? He finds Messi, but unfortunately the ball, the attack fizzles out at long last. But what relentless momentum coming in at the beginning of this game here from the BeastBinachi.
Yeah, I mean, remarkable composure as well, right, from, Bobo Beast, because that was a scary prospect. At any moment, one of those players could have released the trigger, and that would have gone in the back of the net, So we'll see exactly what happens with how everything goes, and I'm worried for the Beast a little bit, if he doesn't find these goals in the beginning, especially if Bobo Beast's defense is going to be this strong and this solid, but he's back again for more. Messi's in. Messi's dangerous, finds the pass to Ginola. Ginola can't get the turn on, and he stumbles, he falls around in the box, and the defense is good for it.
Okay, cool. In that situation inside the box, the defense indeed is going to be good for it to ensure that the ball doesn't end up going into a dangerous place. That attack kind of felt a little bit bizarre and a little bit strange. Felt like the Beast was just trying to muscle through. He's like, you know what, I'm tired of trying to do this by finesse. I'm just going to overpower you now. Now he has to deal with a very incisive attack potentially because Mbappe is in. Mbappe looking for Dembele, but won't be able to find him. We will be able to draw another corner kick here. Bobo's had a lot of them, and Marquinhos on the other side of the ball with the header doesn't go into the back of the net.
Yeah, and right now, tomorrow's fixtures are just like, shaping up to be interesting if it stays with the scoreline, right? We're going to have Young Savage versus Devag, and then Moby versus Unfaizdd. And if Bobo wins here, tomorrow is basically just going to kind of be a consolation day for all of those games, right? Because he's going to secure himself into that top 4, and pretty much everyone's just going to fall a little bit wayward after that. So
if he wins this one, then tomorrow becomes, scarily enough, not a day about playoffs, but a day about relegation.
Right? Because, wow, that's going to be scary, I think, for, Moby and Young Savage, potentially. I think Ati's kind of synced himself into that spot already, so maybe, just maybe from the bottom of the table, I'm not too sure. I think he has 3 points or so right now, Moby, maybe 6, so he can stretch his way out. Whoa, what a shot comes in here! Opens things up from the Beast with Mbappe, as we're just having a little bit of a TED talk here on what's to expect if Bobo wins this one. Hey, let's calm down, Snake. It's not over yet, all right? It's not over yet.
Not over by any stretch of imagination, and when we look at what just happened, we see that with this goal, it's a bit premature to talk about the BeastBinachi losing this one out definitively. We might still have a day about playoffs tomorrow. It all depends on how he recovers from this position from Bobo Beast and whether or not the BeastBinachi is going to use this as a spark for more goals, which he's trying to do right now. He's in with Renato Sanchez holding up the play, but can't keep the ball long enough. Fortunately for him, there aren't that many black shirts forward, so Bobo will struggle with this counter-attack, but he's still going to try for it. Finds Dembele. Fofana waiting to be unleashed, but the passing lane is blocked, and what a tackle. Theo Hernandez keeps him out, says, nope, good sir, you're not getting that close.
Ooh, some crazy touchline play here. Comes in from the Beast to keep it in. Finds a nice little pass back to Dembele, who's been opening things up well for him thus far. And yeah, just so many defenders, even though he has lots of black shirts in there to find some channels, but not really gonna work out for him. And now it's gonna be the BeastBinachi back on this attack, and he just passes basically like a pinball into his other player, as he's gonna continue his attack here with Mbappe on the ball. Mbappe trying to get past Kimpembe, but we all know how much of a dangerous prospect Kimpembe is on the defense there to get past, and just passes it into Bobo's feet, actually, the Beast, and Bobo now can string an attack of his own. And look at that wing player there making that run, but he doesn't see it. Well, he does see it. It's a perfect pass in, actually, to open things up. If he can get a goal back in here, we're definitely gonna have this conversation.
Oh my God.
And no, the defense is good.
Amazing defense, and we saw in that situation that although he was, like we've seen him just bring back as many players as he can on the defense, and now BeastBinachi is in on the attack. BeastBinachi has leveled this one out. BeastBinachi 2-0. It is a 3-3 draw right now. Things are still interesting, Tendo. What a shot.
What a pass.
I was actually about to talk about this, that the Bobo Beast, what he's been doing to deal with this game, We've seen him just bring back so many men that every time he gets the ball back, he's been struggling on the counter-attack. He doesn't have enough players to get forward. In that situation, he throws caution to the wind, puts everybody forward, and unfortunately, it ends up biting him heavily because there's not enough men to track back and cover Mbappe. Slices in the goal, secures the 2-0. TheBeastBinachi might smell blood in the water here, Tendo.
Yeah, I mean, the drama never stops here in the Umzansi Esports League, hosted by Nodwin Gaming. You know, you have the beast in it. He's definitely going to give you a show. He's going to keep you on the edge of your seat. And now Bobo needs to dig deep. We're going into the final half of this leg, and it's leveled up. And this doesn't even become a PO1 anymore. This is just like, you know, like half a slice. It's like, all right, this is all you're going to get. Try your best with it. So, I mean, if you're trying to call predictions on how this one is going to end at this point, man, who do you even give it to?
The way that things been going right now, I still think Bobo is. I still have this feeling that we're gonna get like one surprise goal coming out of him. The only problem is that we're talking about how we had a game plan for TheBeastBinachi, but the Beast clearly has acclimated to this game. He's getting stronger himself, and it doesn't feel like Bobo Beast is as fast on the adaptation as he was on bringing the initial plan to bear. So I think it depends on the opening minutes, right? If he's able to hold on for the first, say, 20 minutes of the second half, then I do think he might be able to drag a goal back. But if he concedes a goal, he goes behind, then suddenly things get very interesting, not just for the tie, but for the table. As we go now into the decisive second leg, second half, the finale of the most exciting tie that could determine the fate of everybody here, Tendo.
Yeah, I mean, Beast scores one more goal, and then tomorrow, once again, like you said, it's going to be a playoff day. It's going to be Young Savage having to perform his utmost best against Divak, who, you know, we think he can beat, but Divak's been looking great this season as well, right? He's been at top of his form, so that's going to be an exciting way to start things off. And based on whoever wins that one, we'll have to be watching at Moby and Unfaizdd to be like, all right, then this is it. Balls in your court, Unfaizdd. Close it up, take the spot. TheBeastBinachi is looking to take the points off over here of Bobo. So, as we're starting off this second half, let's see exactly what both players have installed.
He's going to be leading off with this attack now. He'll also block one off from happening in the opposite direction. He's inside the box here. Beautiful ball gets back to Genola, and Genola slices in the pass as a shot, but it doesn't get into the back of the net because Donnarumma's on form. Takes it short though. Messi finds Mbappe deeper into the midfield. Can he dribble past his players here? There's a lot of bodies on the line, but he's still keeping himself on the ball. It's magnetic at this point with the play here. Even Marquinhos participating in this attack here for TheBeastBinachi. How far up can he get this? Pele gets the dribbles, finds Renato Sanchez. Fofana will be released right now. Going forward, can't get past Marquinhos, so we'll track back. Sadly, the pass will be going into a defender. So now Bobo Beast trying to slowly but surely set this one up because he's not going to make the mistake of rushing too many players forward ever again, I think.
Yeah, I'm not going to make that mistake. He needs to hold it well right now because one slip and it's over. You know, all that you've been working throughout the entire season kind of comes crumbling down in one moment as he tries to bring it back in. Keeper's going to send it out, and he's got this set play to work with if he can find his way into the box, which he can't as the defense is there to stop him. And now it's going to be the man himself, the TheBeastBinachi, to take his attack, and the pass is absolutely superb to Mbappe. Mbappe's running it down, and Mbappe, the top man! He comes back again, but no, what? The keeper says, oh, I'm gonna stop it as well, but it's gonna be offside. What a spell of play that was.
Woo! TheBeastBinachi has to be absolutely fuming right now. He was in on goal, past the keeper, beaten everybody except the 12th man. 12th man too strong. Comes back. Every weekend, the players forget about him, but he always finds a way to surprise you. Keeps this game still a draw. So Bobo Beast still in contention. He just needs one moment of magic. Can he find it with this run from Dembele? Activates the explosive sprint. Trying to get past Fofana. Will be able to hold the ball up. Beautiful dribble past the player. He gets Vinny Jr. inside of the box. Will he be able to find a striker? Fofana for him. Gets the ball forward, but Mbappe is behind Marquinhos. So the ball instead goes towards the Brazilian. Still 3-3. It's still a draw somehow.
Bobo's in. Oh, I mean, the beast is in. Well, he was in, but now Bobo's actually intercepted it. And I mean, it's just going back and forth here. So it's actually a little bit much to keep up with, because as soon as one gets the ball, they're trying to string the attack and vice versa. And 72 minutes left, or 72 minutes on the clock. So we have a few minutes left on this one. And now here he is, Bobo, to try open things up in the defense. But the defense has been an absolute brick wall thus far. And these dying embers of the game for the TheBeastBinachi. As Bobo's still on it, Bobo's still trying to run it down. He's been dribbling like a madman. Thus far, finds the pass back into Mbappe. Mbappe gets past one defender, but there's still Kimpembe in front of him. Can he get past the two that are now closing him off? He can't, and now the Beast is able to recycle the ball. Can he make this play happen? Can he close it off? Can he top up the table with this one? And maybe not final play, obviously. There's still lots of minutes to play with, but the way it's shaping up, it's not looking easy for any of these players to score. He's still on it with Ginola, trying to find these channels to run through with Pele.
Pele sticking to the ball, finds Fofana. Just back and forth between the two of them. They will unleash Ginola, who finds Mbappe inside the box, but he can't get in. Gets kept out. It's the great prophet. Another person that you keep forgetting about, but will emerge at the correct moment. And that ball, it almost reached Pele, but it doesn't get there. It feels like Bobo Beast has been queuing up this pause for so long, but the ball's not even going out of bounds. It's just going into the box, into the other box, immediately into the other box, and now Mbappe gets it into Bobo's box, but can do nothing with it from this point. However, the TheBeastBinachi unwilling to give up the ball, still in on the possession. Mbappe back again, but Kimpembe yet again showing the value of this card. Get him in your team if you don't already. Keeping this still a drawn matchup, and keeping the hope alive for Bobo Beast to get himself into the playoffs with just one more goal.
Just one more goal. He can find it, but it's still the TheBeastBinachi on this attack, and it feels like he's been attacking. And with Mbappe, the channels are not looking good for him to work with. Can't find those running plays, but does find Messi. Back to Ginola. Ginola's here, and he's getting closed off. Still in possession of the ball. Ginola to Mbappe. Mbappe can't get past Kimpembe. Jeez. Is this a day of double draws? Is this actually going to happen, or is the Beast, Bobo Beast, gonna find something here at the dying embers?
I was about to ask, which beast are you talking about? It could be any of them. Bobo, he's the one on the ball right now. This is 1 minute left, 1 minute at a time. There's literally no time left. Bobo, you have the final say. What are you gonna say to us? Is this a double draw, or is this the day of Bobo? He's in the box right now. He's looking to get through, but the tackle means that it's a double draw. Bobo will still have to wait one more day. It's now done for both men. The double draw happened, but at the very least, the TheBeastBinachi doesn't lose today. However, Bobo Beast can walk away saying that, you know what? That I've never done. I have never once in my entire life actually lost a game to the TheBeastBinachi. Bobo, what a legend, what a player. You love to see it.
Yeah, you love to see it, honestly. And he's kind of becoming that kryptonite for the Beast, right? You know, he's going to top it off, finishing off the season with 10 points. We're going to have to look at those goal difference. And I think that's GG Young Savage playoffs, right? You know, you can't really come back into that one with that 10 points. Mathematically, he's out. And now it's all up to Unfaizdd to get the goals into the back of the net, hopefully get ahead with the goal difference, right? And that's really the game we're going to be having to, you know, look at and just hope to see something emerge there for Unfaizdd. But I mean, well done to Bobo regardless, right?
You guys were waiting for something weird to happen today, and it was going to be 2 draws in a row. Completely unexpected, but I mean, Snare, you were waiting for it, right? Just deep down inside, you were like, I have a feeling. But absolutely, just congratulations to Bobo Beast and the TheBeastBinachi. Not a beast here on the stream today, and so far, all of the players have really been performing absolutely phenomenally. Snare, thoughts? Give it to me.
Thoughts. So there's a lot to think about after this game, right? Obviously, now that they've come to this result, it is a draw. TheBeastBinachi will be second in the overall league. Bobo Beast currently is sitting on 4th. But now his fate is no longer in his own hands. He'll be watching the Unfaizdd game with keen eyes. And it's incredible because that's the last game we're going to be having here in the league. And that means that there's 2 seasons in a row where the very last game actually has an opportunity to disrupt the table and disrupt the finishing, disrupt who goes into the playoffs going forward here in the Umzansi Esports League. And after all of this has been said and done, the TheBeastBinachi despite an incredible run of form, feels like he really just can't get past Bubble Beast. Bubble Beast seems to be the one bulwark that stops him from getting forward. However, so another thing that we have to take into account is that we will guaranteed be having a different champion. We have not yet had a defending champion. We're not going to be having one now. And everybody right now who's in the top 4, with the sole exception of Masoom, none of these men have actually won the Umzansi Esports League in the past. So that means we'll definitely be having not just no defending champion, but we might not even have another double champion. Unless Unfaizdd can get in there and disrupt where Bubble Beast is sitting right now, then there is literally only one person who can double up their championships, which means each season of the Umzansi Esports League will likely have a new champion, which is one of the best marks of knowing that we have an incredibly competitive scene, right? When the top spot can pretty much go to anybody, just depending on the day and how good you are on that particular day.
Season 4 has been the most competitive season for PUBG Mobile, and it's shaping up to be the exact same situation here for FIFA 22. As you said, we might have a situation where, again, in the 4th season, we've had a completely new champion rise to the top, and that just goes to show you, like you said, the scene is absolutely competitive, and it is still booming, it is still growing, and it is still giving us the entertainment we are waiting for. That is the FIFA 22 segment coming to a close for the Umzansi Esports League Season 4. And we do need to give a big shout out to our casters, Snare and Tender Players, for giving us the action here today. But that is unfortunately all we have for today for FIFA. But PUBG Mobile, after the break, will be there, ready and waiting for us. So while we do, and go ahead and prepare those, we're going to go to a short break, get your popcorn, get seated, get comfortable. There's still plenty of action for today's Umzansi Esports League Season 4. This is the crunch weekend, the last weekend before promotion relegation matches, so you can bet every single player competing today is going to give it their best. We'll be right back. Welcome everyone to the Umzansi Esports League. This is season 4, brought to you by Nodwin Gaming Africa. I have a cap today because I am pretending to be DK. So actually, you don't need to refer to me as DK, but I will be fake DK for today.
Okay. All right.
As long as
All
you got
right.
that
Well,
sorted.
okay, DK. Well, what are you expecting to see today?
We'll talk about that in a moment. First off, let's take a look at the schedule to see what everyone is in store for. This is the crunch weekend. This is the final weekend for these teams to potentially get themselves up on that leaderboard and move on forward. So, of course, it is the 3 maps we all know and love: Erangel, Sanhok, and Miramar. We all know them by now, surely. I mean, I'm still going to say them, but we all know them. The times are going to depend on how quickly those teams can get past and can absolutely just destroy each other. So, as we take a look at it, right? We're here pretending to be DK, of course, but for why? Why are we here? Let's take a look at the prize pool and remind ourselves why these teams are here, why they have been competing for the past few weeks, why they have been, coming back, doing better and better and better every single week. And it is, of course, that amazing prize pool, $17,500, with FIFA 22 taking $2,500, and the PUBG mobile segment that is live right now taking $15,000 as their potential prize pool. The share, of course, depending on who will get through to the finals, who will be able to compete for the share of that prize pool, and that's going to be up to this weekend. So, talking about the leaderboard, right? What do we think we should be expecting today? We've got Group B and C. Some interesting teams in those two groups, Patchy. What are you thinking?
Look, I mean, at this stage of the game, we're sitting, it's the last weekend, and we've already been through day 1. That means we have 2 days left. One of those 2 days is today. But on top of that, this is the last day for one of these groups. And I do believe that it is Group B that is playing for the final time, because I think tomorrow is A versus C. So if I'm not mistaken, this is the final day that Group B teams have to play. After that, that's it. They're done. For the rest of the season, it is over for them. They have no more chances to put any points on the board. And so if any Group B teams are finding themselves down towards that relegation, it's going to be, well, yeah, it's going to be over for them, basically. There's no ways they get another chance at that. And then, of course, if the teams in Groups A and C do better, then, they will be saying goodbye to them. So really, that is what is at stake right now. It is not the final day, but for some teams, it is. It is the final day. So we really are on the cusp. We really are at the end of this round, at the end of the semifinals. And that means that these teams have to be they just got to give it their all. There is no room for messing up. There's no room for 50% performance. Like I said yesterday, we need 150% performance. If you take a look at these teams that are sitting in positions 13 through 16, you can see that these are really the teams that have to make sure that they continue to put points on the board to make sure that they move up, because they are very dangerously close to relegation, and you do not want to be there when this day is over, especially if you're a Group B team. So if we take a look at this little line, number 1 in the relegation page is Solo Esports, and this is a team that I really would like to see make it through to the next stage. The Natural Killers as well, also a team that I would like to see moving through. And so it is exceptionally important that the teams playing today give it their all, and even a little bit more than that, to make sure that they don't get caught out by relegation in the end of the day.
Oh, it hurts me to think that unfortunately we still have to relegate teams. Of course, the teams that are going to be relegated and actually have to play in the promotion relegation games next weekend, by the way, keep that open. It's going to be absolutely insane to see those teams going head to head. It's unfortunate that we still have to relegate teams. It hurts me because, as you mentioned, there's a lot of teams in that list that we'd love to see moving on to the next phase, because they've really been, putting out some fantastic performances. But unfortunately, it is how the structure is set. Talking about the structure, let's see how these teams can, of course, move up on that leaderboard. And it's the bread and butter of battle royale, if we can call it that, is placement points and it's kills. Placement points will deem you a set amount of points. Kills depend on how active you depend to be, on the map. If you want to just go ahead and take out, what did we have last night? 19 kills, in the first map. If you want to do that, you can do that. Okay, but it's the only way to extend your points past that maximum 15 that you can get from placements. And we've seen that be absolutely crucial for many of the teams because that's the only way that they can, really jump up on that leaderboard, not just climb it, but absolutely just gallop on top of each other, just taking points and placements away from each other. So, speaking of that, let's talk about our groups today. Group B and Group C. We mentioned it, right? Ooh, there's a lot of teams, Patchy, that are looking pretty spicy. Starting off with G3 Temper, a team that we, are expecting to be in a good position. Maybe not haven't, been the best of positions in past days, but have had some good games. Have had some good days and games. Zero Tolerance Skills, also another team that, I mean, what can we say? Can you say more about them? The way that they've been performing, this season, it's been very, very interesting. What do you think?
Yeah, I was actually just about to say I'm probably the most worried when it comes to these teams for zero tolerance. They are the ones that all these teams are going to have to be checking out. They're going to have to make sure that you keep a bit of a tab on them because I'm worried for everyone else just because of the fact that zero tolerance is in this lobby right now. And I mean, we were talking about teams that we are expecting a lot out of. G3 is one of them. Zero tolerance absolutely is one of them. BBC is one of them as well. They're currently sitting on that first page in position number 5. So they're also a team that you kind of need to start watching out for. Team Unique as well has been performing pretty well in this last leg of the round. So they're actually also a team that you might want to keep an eye on. So already straight off the bat, these Group B teams, they're going to have a hard time, even just of themselves. But the next group is also going to have a little bit of a tough time because as we move into Group C, take a look at this. We've got 4KT, we've got Solo Esports, The Magicians, and Sincerity and ATROX, who are all needing desperately to get more points. And guess who else is in this group?
No.
It's Infinity AF. All right,
no,
now
I don't want
to start something here. I don't want to make it sound like, there's a problem, but there's kind of a problem when you've got the Infinity AF out here clapping like 250 points, leading the season so far, leading this round. All right, these guys have stepped it up even in this weekend, which is worrying, right? Because like I said yesterday, these teams absolutely did not need points, but it was the Infinity AF. It was a ton of different teams that were already at the top of the leaderboard, just stepping it up in a huge way. So if I was any one of these teams that are kind of hovering down towards relegation, like for instance Solar Esports, I'd be very worried.
Yeah, I mean, who did we had Influence Rage Africa yesterday just pick up 20 kills because they felt like it.
Yeah.
Right? 20 kills because why not, right? But they're sitting on that first page. They're sitting in top 4, I believe, if you took, or top 5, somewhere around there. Again,
Influence Rage is in
need
3rd place right now.
Oh yeah, they're 3rd place now because they picked up so many points. Again, not necessary, right? Like the points are gonna completely get reset when we move into the semi-finals. So it's not like they need them to get a better position so that finals are gonna be easier. No. No, they don't need anything. They're literally at this point, whether it's to practice new strats, whether it's to get themselves set up, to get that edge game that we speak about, in many circumstances, to keep your confidence up, right? Preparing for those matches. Whether it's that, it's definitely not because they have to, but they are. And that is making it so difficult for any of the other teams. And I feel like I need to bring up the fact I'm being DK today because unfortunately his power decided to go just before the broadcast. So as soon as he gets back, hopefully he'll be able to join us. But for the time being, I am your proxy DK. DK proxy? I'm DK proxy today.
Okay.
you can now take the conversation, please.
we won't question it. We'll just move forward.
Okay. We'll just go forward.
We'll leave the strange hybrid creations that you have made.
I'll turn more into DK as the day progresses. just keep coming back to me. I'll just be. Listen.
If DK's watching now, that's a flame.
Listen.
You'll get me behind the
ship
scenes.
it to DK right now. Look what Patchy just said.
But we love DK. It's fine.
We do.
You'll get me behind the scenes.
Dearly, and hopefully his electricity will come back shortly. We miss him dearly. But when we talk about groups B and C today, this is the last weekend, as we mentioned, that the teams have an opportunity to climb that leaderboard. Group B and C are today. Group A and B were yesterday, and tomorrow I think we have C and A. So each group has 2 opportunities to play it out, with the different groups, get some points up. Thereafter, it's done. Then we have our top 16. We're going to relegate the rest, unfortunately, and promotion relegation matches are next weekend. As I said, those are going to be absolutely insane. But it does mean that, unfortunately, for those final teams, they're just not going to have a share of that prize pool. This whole season would have been all but naught for them. Nothing to do, nothing to show for it, unfortunately, other than the fact that, oh yeah, well, I got to top 24. Aha. It's unfortunate. It's, there's no bragging rights really involved in that, because the season has been so competitive that we can't necessarily state, okay, yes, we know exactly who's gonna, at least be the top 8 or so, or top 16 or so immediately, because it's been changing week after week after week, Patchy.
Yeah. And I suppose also, at this point in time, even just being able to say, hey, I was a season 4 finalist is a pretty big statement in and of itself, but you need to get there. You need to get to the finals to be able to say I was a finalist in the season. So at this point, if you want to speak about bragging rights, it is still huge, even just to make it up into the finals at this point in time. We've been talking about how competitive the season is. That's what it boils down to. If you can even make it to the finals here in season 4 of Umzansi, then you are just you've been doing an incredible job. You're one of the best that this entire region has to offer at this point in time. And I think that's been proven. Not only here on this stage, but on plenty of other stages as well. And I think these teams have also benefited from that. You could see that their skill has just been increasing quite considerably, and it's been very, very impressive. And now that we're clashing at the end of the road of the semifinals, you can see that things are just getting that much more close. These teams have just been neck and neck all round long. It's been difficult. It has been testing for a lot of these teams. They have been thrown into that frying pan and into the fire and into just every conceivable difficult situation. And it looks like that's going to continue to be the case, because as we head into our Erangel, flight path taking us down south, and it looks like that zone is going to be heading down south as well, which means that these teams are going to be battling it out on the island once again. And the last time that this happened, the teams were very uncomfortable. So we're
never
already
go there, Patchy.
See,
No
this is why you always drop Military Island, by the way.
For the one chance that the zone actually spawns there. For the one in 1,000 games that it actually goes there.
Absolutely.
I don't think we should apply that as a proper strategy.
That is a fantastic utilization of resources.
Remember, we're supposed to be teaching the audience here, and you're teaching them.
It's a good strategy. You'll always win using my strategies.
Where's your proof? Okay.
Because I always win.
Let's use this game as your proof. If Fear win this game, that means that it's a fantastic strategy, because they were the only team to drop their Patchy.
No,
okay,
we're
gonna put your strategy to the test. Okay,
if
Fear win this game,
right there,
your strategy
are literally dead last right now. you can't load the bet like that.
You want to go? Okay, this is the way to go.
Yeah, all right. We'll have a look and see what's going on. Yeah, I definitely don't expect that to happen.
We'll see if Patchy points help them to win the game.
Listen, Patchy points win the hearts and minds of the people. All right, we don't talk about game points when it comes to Patchy points. It wins hearts and minds, and that's what counts. All right. Let's have a look. We've got a southern zone. We've got teams that have mostly been sort of squished up against the southern border of the mainland. So I'm interested to see if any teams are going to take the liberty to actually go across the rest of the map. It looks like 4KT will. Solo and a Sidemen have decided to do a similar thing as well. They have taken a bit of extra space, which is usable, and Rain from Hell have done so as well. So they've gone nice and far, which is probably actually the best decision to make right now. If you have a plan for actually getting down back into the zone, because right now what you can do is just move all the way north, because you know it's guaranteed that there's no one going to be there, so it's free space for sure. You're not going to get caught out on the rotate, so it's an easy easy early game. You can loot up without any contesting, which is great. But then you need a plan to get back into the zone, because by the looks of things, if the zone decides to go south again and actually take the teams away from the mainland, that means that they're going to have to be crossing those bridges, or they're going to have to be swimming or taking a boat. And we already know how that goes. If you take the bridges, it's going to be a fight. It's going to be difficult. If you swim across the channel, it's going to be even worse, because then you can't even fight back. If you take a boat, you might actually be able to pull a fast one, like we were seeing, I think it was yesterday actually, where a team literally pulled BBC's own maneuver on them and managed to get them with it. So that's always a possibility. Other than that, it's just going to be very difficult to get back inside there once that happens. So these teams need to make sure they have a plan for re-entry, and it looks like Fear have already decided to hop in some cars and go hunting.
Wow, already some car chases happening here on PUBG Mobile, which we've been waiting for a little bit, right? I've missed them dearly. Unfortunately, it does look like Infinity's already taking a little bit of damage from none other than Fear themselves. Now they're looking to prove that the patchy points are the worthy strategy, that Military Island is the worthy strategy.
If Fear beats Infinity here in this in this clash right here, okay, then you're never able to say anything about my strategies ever again. All right, because Infinity is literally at the top of the leaderboard and Fear is literally at the bottom. If Fear win this, okay, I don't want to hear nothing bad about my strategies ever again, all right? Because obviously they work.
Listen, I can't make those promises. It is my job as the host to make fun of my casters. Thank you very much. Just because I am a caster today, okay? It's
100% prediction rate, by the way.
Excuse me, you said that yesterday when I was muted. That is a big lie, my man. That is a big lie.
It's straight up true. It's facts.
Cap all day, every day.
Listen, all right. Just paying attention to what's actually happened now, it looks like Fear have been able to take a couple of kills off of Infinity AF. I'm not sure how many kills it was, but the fact that it was even anything at all is impressive, to say the least. I'm not saying that it's the patchy points from the South Island drop, but something evidently has energized Fear to take on these engagements.
Yes, it's the zone. It's the fact that they all have to be here. As we look at it, okay, jokes aside, 40 teams left. You can see G3 trying to just contain a few of the teams trying to make their rotations over the bridges into the Military Island as they need to, because Zone is heading that way. Unfortunately, Sincerity being one of those teams to feel the brunt of that strategy coming through. Now, one of the knocks coming through, and G3 just looking to capitalize off of that. They've already got one team kill to their name, which means they're just picking up some points. I like it. And this is generally the issue we have with Military Island. Let's explain why Military Island is not as popular, Patchy, because some of the viewers, they might not understand. So, as we can see, obviously, it's an island. It is, isolated from the rest of the map. And the only way to get on there is either to swim, either to take a boat, or to take one of these two bridges. And as we've just seen G3 Temper do, they, teams tend to contain. So they tend to camp, as we tend to call it as well, on those bridges, waiting for teams to make those rotations, and then they get easy kills. As we've seen time and time again, the team that makes the earliest rotation is the team that can set up first and pick up some kills, which on Military Island, there's ample opportunity to do so, because all of the entryways into the island, they're risky. They're very, very risky. I'd say, the boat is probably the least riskiest, but
even that has some risk.
When you get to land, you still probably might even run into a team, and then it doesn't matter. You're still unfortunately going to have that situation where you will be taking that fight on, which is why we often see teams decide to not go there. It's not because we're making fun of Patchy. It's just because of the fact that, unfortunately, teams, they know better, and they know to try and use that containment to their benefit, as we see it.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, 14 teams left, 53 players left. And as this is the crunch weekend, all of these points are absolutely detrimental to everyone and anyone. They need to make sure that they are farming as many points as possible to climb that leaderboard, or unfortunately they will be relegated. No one is really safe except for maybe the Infinity AF and maybe some of the teams towards, the top three spots. They've got enough points. They should be fine. The rest, Oh my
Zone
goodness! It is a
rotation,
military island
yes.
day, Patchy.
It's exactly okay. So you're absolutely right. Like just to make sure that the viewers understand. Like the reason I'm so enamored with the military island is for the exact reason that it is actually a very difficult island to play on, specifically for those reasons that we just mentioned. Right? It's not easy to get out, especially because teams know that there are huge bottlenecks when it comes to getting out of military island. So if the zone goes north, it's a very difficult time. G3 are actually very good at this on Erangel. They always drop to just north of the Eastern Bridge. And because that position is so useful to them, they're very close to being able to rotate down to the military island if needs be, but they're also exceptionally close to be able to bridge camp that if anyone's trying to rotate across it from the military island. So they're always in a good position regardless, which is why their drop in that particular location is always fantastic. It's a very, very strategically chosen spot. In this case, when the zone actually goes down south, they're able to rotate across that bridge, get to the island, and potentially camp it if they want to. But for this particular scenario, they've decided to move into the middle of the zone, which is probably a good decision considering the amount of teams that are now going to be streaming into the island. I think they realize they don't want to get caught up in that. You definitely don't want to get caught in like a three-way crossfire right now in the game, just because, as you said, the points are so phenomenally important right now that even just taking the risk and risking losing your players is not useful to a team like G3. They really try and keep all of their players alive as long as possible, and you can see that in their game style. It happens a lot. They always, if they end up in the final zones, they almost always have all of their teammates remaining, which is a huge bonus for them. Their playstyle is actually a really good one to take a look at. If you're interested in actually learning a couple of things or adding to your strat book, you can go through the seasons and actually check out what they are doing. They have had some fantastic seasons in the past of Umzansi, and they're doing okay now in this season as well. They have definitely they're not dominating as they used to, but certainly not a team to trifle with. They are quite strong, and I think they'll actually I think they will show that in the finals, because I do expect that G3 will be there, and I think that they will be in contention for the top spot. So we will see them start to rise to the occasion when that happens. But for now, the teams are just making their way down into that island, getting themselves ready. You can see the Sidemen are doing a bit of that bridge camping there, and they are checking out to see if they could just capture any teams and players that are moving across their Rain from Hell is one of them. Although it might be the other way around, not too sure. It looks like Sidemen has picked up one of the Rain from Hell players who are trying to cross that bridge, and it looks like there's a bit of bridge camping going on the western bridge as well, which is going to be a bit of a problem for Slime 4KT, because despite the fact that 4KT is a very capable team, I mean, a bridge camp is a bridge camp. It is a difficult thing to get through.
Absolutely, turning our attention to that Sideman interaction we were talking about. There it is. Rain from Hell, unfortunately, now finding two knocked, and the Sidemen still looking for the rest, right? They want to get all of these kills done and dusted to make the time that they wasted here waiting for these players to come through absolutely worth it. You can see Matrix just bobbing and weaving between nades, trying to get closer to get this final confirmation. Scottsy's alive, gonna find the first knock with a nade coming through, and that final confirmation being there. I mean, it's just one player from Red from Hell trying to swim for their lives to keep the team in this. But yeah, I was a little bit worried there for Slime 4KT. I mean, they also had a very late rotation. They were still well in the zone when most of the teams had moved to the military island, right? So, and now jumping out of the zone immediately into a bridge camp, although looks like for them their lucky stars are in alignment. And I believe it was Magicians who were actually holding that line. They have moved off, in fact, so that leaves open pathing there for Slime 4KT to move into the military island. And the military island, oh, it's going to be an active one, Patchy.
It certainly is. Let me just point out there how useful that victory for the Sidemen was on that Eastern Bridge. Sidemen have been working their way up the leaderboard from relegation, and they've been keeping themselves out of that very, very well. Their performance has been very good towards the last leg of this round in the semifinals here, and they actually have that victory there is going to help them continue to keep themselves out of relegation. But for the other side, for Rain from Hell, that is a devastating loss right there, because they're going to be losing so many points that they could be having, and they are in that relegation zone. So that is a huge loss for them, the fact they only have one player remaining. Now that we're moving in, you absolutely said it as proxy. This is going to be, or should I say DKS proxy? It's going to be quite a packed southern zone. It's not going to be easy. And you can already see that fire is just getting absolutely lay down across the entire map. We saw BBC coming in from behind. They have a pretty decent spot, but right now, the space on the island has run out very quickly. It's not a big island, and as the zone gets smaller, it just gets exceptionally small very, very quickly. So these teams are going to find themselves in battles very, very soon. And it's not going to be easy, especially considering G3 has a really good position. They got into the middle of the zone early. The zone didn't go away from them, so they managed to maintain that position. And now all the teams starting to squeeze in. It's going to be a tight fit. This is going to be like a can of sardines just getting squished, tighter and tighter. Right now, BBC down in the south, they look like they've got a team that has just rolled straight past them. I'm trying to see which one that is. It might be, is that ATROX? Could be. In any case, just as a passing comment, BBC have also been a very impressive team. They have seriously impressed me over the last few weeks, and especially in this season, they have really climbed the ranks. And even in the last few weeks they've been playing, they've moved themselves up onto that first page, and it's good to see them there, actually be in contention for those top spots, because I'd like to see if they can do more in the finals. Now, as we move on to Zero Tolerance, these guys have also been on the up and up. We were talking about them a little bit earlier. They are currently in position number 2, and they have straight up rolled in towards Solar Esports now, looking for a bit of a fight. Solar Esports desperately needs some points. Can they contend with the likes of Zero Tolerance? Skills, we're about to find out.
Oh, Zero Tolerance here, just wanting to take out Solar Esports, absolutely get that confirmation and get a team wipe going here. Of course, we know from position 13 to 16, if you go out, that would mean that you get 0 placement points. So for Solar Esports here, going out with 0 team kills and 0 placement points, oh, it would just be painful, as we've mentioned before. And there on the nades from Hates, finding 2. Oh, I don't see this going well right now for Solar Esports. It's just not looking healthy. I think they all down. No, just one left. Just one. Just
yeah. As soon as we saw Zero Tolerance whip out that kind of nade work, I think we already knew what was going to happen there. Zero Tolerance, fantastic with a gun game, but when they're bouncing nades off of walls like that, you're not going to win in that position. But now,
Yeah.
Unique is actually rolling up to challenge them. This could be the step up that Yujiro needs to get some redemption for his team, because he is the last one left for his team, Solo Esports. And now Zero Tolerance under a little bit of pressure here as Unique rolls in, tries to take up residence in this particular area. There's a fight happening up in the north as well. BBC getting into it with Sincerity, and Sincerity taking heavy losses. This is going to be a tough fight for them, because they also need the points. Sincerity have been doing really, really well. They were on the first page for a little bit of time recently. They've just slipped off over the last day or so. And they need a few points to keep themselves away from relegation. So it's unfortunate if they get taken out here. But with BBC in the mix and Sidemen rolling up, also hungry for the kills, it is not going to be an easy time here on the East.
Not at all. And BBC not finding themselves in a great position either here. Alive, with 2 team kills. Currently we've got 12 teams left, so I mean, going out here, they're going to pick up at least 1 or 2 placement points. There's still 2, members alive, so hopefully they can keep the dream alive. As we look at these numbers are very quickly dwindling for many of the teams, not in the most positive way either. BBC, I mean, since I've seen Patchy in PUBG Mobile, BBC has been the #1 team that he has supported. So to see BBC continuing on and doing well would be, very, very good Patchy points. Very good Patchy points as we look at it. Now, turning our attention there to Solo. I think the last member there from Solo was in fact confirmed to be out for the count. We've got 10 teams alive here. Sidemen finding themselves in a little bit of a precarious situation here. Many teams around them, many teams looking for the exact same thing. Looking for those kills, looking to pick up those points as soon as possible. The Infinity AF lag rolling up on the Infinity there. A little bit of a precarious situation there as one takes down Senor. And now, just 1 more member left. Oh, no, that's a self-nade. That's not a good one. We don't like self-nades, Patchy. We don't like
self-nades. It's it happens from time to time. It's a little bit unfortunate, but it happens to the best of us. So we won't hold it against them. But yeah, definitely you don't want to see that. Unfortunately for Infinity AF, they actually took that fight against Lag earlier on. It crippled them just a little bit after taking some losses. Now that they're going up against Lag, who are quite capable, it's a tough situation, especially if that's going to be happening. So yeah, it's tough for them, and I think it's tough for a lot of these teams on the board right now. BBC have turned their attention towards the Sidemen, a little bit of back and forth going there in their direction. Sad Boy trying to return a bit of fire, but they're fighting across this little ravine, or just back and forth over this hill, should I say. They've got the smokes down to try and obscure a little bit of vision, but with the blue zone at their back, they're going to have to get rotating very soon. Even BBC will have to start retreating because none of them are currently safe inside that zone. We've got about 30 seconds before it moves in, and the blue zone's already 5 layers deep, which means it is going to be doing some serious damage. So these teams do not have any time to dawdle right now.
Absolutely not the case that you want to be looking at, but for many of these teams, unfortunately, making this rotation, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt so bad. There's so many open areas here, and if you don't have that vehicle just to give you that little bit of extra momentum to get out of that situation, it really turns sour so quickly. 10 teams alive, 30 players amongst those 10 teams, and everyone just dealing the damage.
Ooh.
As Sneaky Valak will be finding a nice little knock there onto Matrix, as Sidemen are just trying to take that rotation into zone, and many of the teams now finding themselves in the same situation. Valak is so low right now, still alive. I don't even understand how. Sad Boy just doing the same thing, sitting in the smoke there, trying to find some sort of an angle here to tackle this one. But
what a difficult
BBC,
spot.
right around the corner. Kratos, the last remaining member here from BBC. Actually, I don't see how they get out of this one. Either Sad Boy or BBC might be saying their last prayers.
I think both of them are about to say their last prayers right now because, I mean, just look at the situation. I mean, the smoke is the best cover they have. They've got some trees, but ultimately, there's so many teams in the area. There's too many angles to watch. You know, ATROX is now rolling up. They've got all of their players left. Sad Boy is the last player for the Sidemen. For Luck and Keish. No, for Luck and somebody else. I'm not even sure who that is right now, but there's only 2 BBC players left live, basically. It is not looking good at all. One of them is down. One of them is trying to crawl closer and closer to get the res. It is just not... it's not favorable at all. I mean, this is just a recipe for disaster right now. Being able to get out of this situation will be miraculous, to say the least, because with all of these players rolling in, with ATROX slowly creeping forward, they're going to have to utilize... Oh, yeah, Chris just getting naded out of existence. Goodbye. They're just crawling up, and the angles are getting exposed. There's no ways you get out of this unscathed. I mean, there's just no ways. It's not possible. There's not enough cover. The blue zone's moving in. The smokes are running out by the moment as they get popped off the popped. I mean, they are running out of resources very quickly, and I'm presuming that once this fight takes place, it's going to be a bloodbath. There it is, pushing forward. Muffin getting taken out. ATROX now under fire as they try and push forward. Lag is in the vicinity. BBC is in the vicinity. Sidemen even in the vicinity. And now all of them have to fight for a space in zone, which has now moved all the way to the west. All of them have to try and stay alive. Nades exploding at their feet, somehow still staying alive at the end of that. Pika going down. I mean, this is just chaos.
I can't believe what I'm watching here. The amount of damage that's being dished out right now with only 8 teams left, 20 players on this map, on this tiny zone. It is just absolute chaos. You can see the nades just popping in front of everyone. Walking through a minefield right now. Many of these teams just desperately trying to find some sort of an angle here to get into zone, some sort of an opportunity to find themselves some safety here. But every single team here is trying to get themselves those points here. It is the semifinals weekend. Everyone is trying to get the points. ATROX now, unfortunately taking a lot of damage there. Dead and Pika out for the count. 6 teams left as we look at it. A lot of those confirmations coming through. Now BBC still in this one. Kratos still dealing out the damage, trying to find some knocks here. Wow, I mean, we blinked and now we're just left with 6
That's
teams.
a great catch. That's a great catch. Their backs were completely turned to him. Kratos is going to peek out and pick up some kills, but the third party's instantly punishing. G3 do not take any of that insolence. They're going to punish that immediately. You expose yourself to G3, they will take you down, guaranteed. 5 teams left. 14 players live right now in this absolutely crazy zone. But we knew this was going to happen as Proxy. As soon as that zone went down, onto the South Island, we knew that this is what was going to happen. And now we are left with Unique and Slime 4KT up on the hill. We've got Lag down at the foot of the hill, and we've got G3 who's taken up residence all along the wall, which is basically the safest spot that anyone has right now on this map.
Save a spot, but time to take these sort of fights as everyone's just trying to run down that mountain. It's absolute chaos, Patchy. It's absolute chaos. 4 teams left now. Looking at Mars yet, trying to find an angle here, but the nades still popping off. Seems like everyone just stored as many nades as possible, and Team Unique, an unfortunate situation here. Geish on a sliver of HP. Azuri is still one of the remaining members alive and kicking, but for how long is the question? Slime 4KT actually managing to get to this point with 3 players alive, looking for those final moments now. The nades are being prepped and ready. Once again, the bombardment is going to come through, and many of these players not looking too healthy. As you said, G3 Temper in a fantastic situation, all members alive and well, just waiting for the results of these fights. And again, the bombardments, they have not stopped.
They have not stopped at all. 4KT takes this fight very seriously. Unique have been tested again and again and again, and right now it looks like they might be faltering just a little bit up against the slaughter that is coming from 4KT. They've just been tossing the nades, sending the bullets straight across, putting them down range one after the other, and really making things tough. Azuri trying to get out of that situation as quickly as possible, trying to relocate, but man, relocating in this position is probably the best they can do when they're fighting against 4KT and G3 pushing up the mountain. It looks like it's a clash of our age-old titans here. 4KT and G3 swinging themselves around the map, just putting the pressure on. These guys are not afraid, and it shows. They are just going in for the kill, instantly putting the damage, and you can see Sorry getting squashed out of existence there. Azuri getting taken down by G3, and now it's a G3 versus 4KT fight. But G3 have the zone. They've got the leg up. They've got the advantage in this situation. And now that Zeus has gone down to the foot of the mountain, he's been taken out, isolated from the rest of the squad who's trying to move across the other side of the mountain, but they have no cover. They're low on HP. They're trying to do a flanking maneuver, but that's a lot of damage to contend with. They're trying to take the fight to G3, but it's not going to work at all. G3's position was too good. It was too strong. They were too heavily fortified. It wasn't going to happen. G3 will take the chicken dinner in our game number 1.
Absolutely insane gameplay coming through from many of these teams, and to see G3 Temper picking up those kind of points at this point in the game, it's not by accident. We said it before. You know, everyone needs to be picking up these points right now. So I'm wondering to see if many of these teams will be actually moving on. I mean, the way we look at it, you know, Slime 4KT, they're picking up some points here. G3 Tempo picking up some points. Team Unique are as well. But will it be enough at the end of this weekend, Patchy?
That is the real question. That is the real question. Right now, I think it's a kind of a repeat of what we were having yesterday. You know, G3, sure, the points are good for them, but they don't necessarily need them. It's not like these guys are at the cusp of relegation anymore. They were. You know, earlier on in the semi-finals, they were looking a little bit, a little bit rickety. They were down in towards relegation. They needed to put some work on, but I don't think any of us really doubted that they could do it. I think now the real problem that most of the teams that are down in relegation are facing is the fact that the teams standing at the top of the ladder have decided to wake up. They've decided to stop putting their foot down now before we get to the finals, and it's making it that much more difficult for the teams in relegation to actually get points on the board. But that's actually, I think, a good thing, because the challenge is there. You really have to put the work in to try and get to finals. You know, whoever makes it into the finals has absolutely earned their spot at this point in time. It's not like a fluke. It's not like, oh, you know, these guys got in based on, you know, luck, or they just managed to get. No. These teams have been neck and neck all week long, and in fact for the last few weeks they have been neck and neck. It has been an all-out fight. These teams have been tested again and again and again, and only the teams that have achieved victory and success will be the teams that move forward. And right now, if G3 is going to be stealing those away, if 4KT is going to be stealing those away, it is going to be that much more difficult for our teams in relegation to make it out to safety.
It's also weird because we've seen many of the teams in the past, they've just said, no, it's fine, we don't need to do anything in these final weekends, and now we're seeing those teams doing something very, very different. We're going to go to a short break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the standings, of course, and prepare for our second map of the day. This is the Umzansi Esports League Season 4 semi-finals, the last weekend. Stay with us. The action is still a little long. Welcome everyone to the Umzansi Esports League Season 4, brought to you by Nodwin Gaming Africa. I have uncapified myself, so it's my bad. Can't work with that today. I can't do DK. I can't. He's an individual. I cannot. Unfortunately, we're still without the man today, but it's fine. Me and Patrick will keep the story going. Let's take a look at the standings there from Erangel. The first map done and dusted for the day. So it's getting to that point where I'm very nervous for these teams, Patchy. I'm very nervous for everyone.
I've been nervous for these teams.
I don't want to look at the standings anymore. I'm scared. Can we just
Don't
not
worry.
look at the overall
I'll look at the standings for you. I'll look at the standings, so don't worry. We'll take a look at them together. All right, we'll go through them, step by step, so that it's not as scary. We take a look at G3 and we see, what do you know? G3's got 25 points. All right, we'll move on. 4KT, 19 points. TV Unique, 17 points. Lag, 12. BBC, 9. Yeah, it's pretty good. Not too bad. The Infinity AF, 7. Then you realize, wait a minute. These teams are already at the top of the leaderboard. What are they doing here? Why are they putting these points on the board? Where are the teams in relegation putting the points on the board? Why are they not featuring up here with 25 points, with 19 points, with 17 points, with double digits? What's going on? And now the sweat starts to roll down your brow and you go, oh no. Are they going to make it? I don't know. The Magicians, Sincerity, Solo, Raid from Hell. These are not the points that they need. All right? These are not the points that they need. They need more. Because right now, Solo Esports is sitting in 17th position. The Magicians are sitting in 16th position. All right? That means relegation. 16 and 17 is literally the cusp of relegation. If you find yourself above that when this week is over, you can wipe the sweat off your brow and go, okay, we're good. If not, then it's back to the drawing board. It's back to get yourself back into the practice sessions with your boys, with your coach, to go for the next season of Umzansi, which will eventually happen.
Yeah, preparing. I like that. I am sad to see Team Somalia there. It breaks my heart a lot, but unfortunately, I don't know. Okay, so let's break it down. Let's go to the last leaderboard standings that we had and see basically what we're looking at. So these are the teams, right? So these are the teams that if they don't pick up points this weekend, we won't be seeing them not next weekend, the weekend after with the finals, right? We won't.
Yep.
It's done. It's dusted. Unfortunately, they won't be here for the last weekend of Season 4. We've already had to relegate teams before this, but now these will be the next set of teams that we have to relegate. And I mean, a lot of teams on this list right now, we've mentioned before, we personally are massive fans of. I've been a fan of Team Somalia since last season. Patchy was absolutely thrilled by Solo Esports. Natural Killers, Rainbow Six Madagascar, Young Thundercats, Rain from Hell, Fear. Like, these are teams that we've been massive fans of, and to see them being relegated so close to the finals and with such a competitive season, it hurts, man. It does, but it is the way that we have to look at it. So Solo Esports now sitting at the top of this page with 116 points, and they, I don't know. Looking at it for Rain from Hell, Fear, and Team Somalia, I just don't think it's possible at this point in time. I don't think they can pick up enough points within this one weekend to immediately just jump to the page there before. I think it might be a little bit too far gone for them, unless they pick up like a 30-point game twice. Yeah, they literally have to pick up like 60 points to be safe, which is a lot of points. And I don't know, I just don't see for many of these teams being able to do that, as we've mentioned, especially considering your top teams are just, I don't know, what are our top teams doing? Are they just like, we've been waiting to show you all of these strats, and now the one weekend that everyone was waiting for some sort of breathing room, we're not going to give them any of that. We're just going to actually go even harder than we have in the first part of the season and take more points than we ever have in this entire season, because no, we want our spots, obviously, granted, and we don't want you to take our spots, which is a fair assumption, which is a fair, statement. So our top teams performing the way that they are, it's massive. I don't think that we're seeing the space being created for any of these teams, on that last page, Patchy.
Yeah, there's definitely not any space being created for them. Anything that they get, anything that they achieve now is going to be completely on them. It's going to be all the hard work that they put in. That is nothing else. Nothing's going to be handed to them for free. There's no silver platters anywhere in sight. I feel like the teams that are sitting at the top of the leaderboard right now, they've started to eat their oats in preparation for the finals. Like they're waking up and it's like they're hitting the reps straight off. They're getting their thumbs ready. Their brains are being expanded every time. As they eat those oats, every spoonful is just like expands their brain at least 15%. But that is exactly what it feels like these teams are doing right now, because they have just come alive and they're like, we're just going to win these games. And if you want any points, you're going to have to fight for them, because we're going to take them if we get them. And, like I said, that's just a difficult situation for everyone. We were talking about the teams that we really liked, that we hated to see go. At least we will see them again, hopefully, in the next season. It's the fact that they've even made it this far is impressive in and of itself. Especially considering a lot of them have come from Nkosi promotions and whatnot, and they've really made waves here in the Umzansi Esports League for sure. It has been huge, huge, huge. I still think that there is a chance that Solo Esports and Natural Killers can probably make it out of relegation. The problem is that right now they're fighting against, so at the moment we've got the likes of, for instance, Sincerity, but in the next group, there's of course Seven Sins. There's the we have the Magicians in this lobby as well. So the Magicians and Solo are going to be attempting to do as much as possible. But the issue is that, of course, they're still fighting against these top teams, and the top teams are not giving in. The top teams are putting. I mean, the fact that Unique is still in this, they're still giving them, their 100% is very difficult for the teams to contend with, right? Because if every team above you is going to be, just absolutely going ham, then, exactly like we've been talking about, there is no handouts, there's no silver platter, there's no free space. It really is just going to be a grind and a grind and a grind to try and make it into safety. And that is what we're about to witness. We're about to witness map number 2, Sanhok, and honestly, who can even say what's about to happen? Because at this point, we might just, in the past, we could have been talking about how the teams are just playing it slower, playing it safer, giving a bit more room, but that's not the case anymore. Now, we have to start bringing these teams back into the picture, saying, all right, is this going to be a G3 win? Is this going to be a 4KT win? Are we going to see Unique making something happen? Is BBC going to grab a win? Because BBC is capable on this map. Who are we going to see, right? Is it going to be these top teams? Or is one of the teams sitting close to relegation going to maybe take something? Is Magicians going to sneak a few points on? Are Solo Esports going to find some points on when we, inevitably see them? What's going to happen here? I have no idea.
That zone is also not making it easy for any of our teams, because that's basically eliminating half of the space that they have to work with in general in this very, very tiny map, in this very, very tiny zone. So unfortunately for many of the teams now, making those rotations through, they're going to have a lot less space, because the majority was taken up with water. It's basically like you just jumped to the second zone with the first zone in terms of spacing, which is horrible for many of these teams to make the rotation in, because it makes it a lot harder for them to find that safe spot, to find them that sort of safe haven really to prepare for, and find themselves cover and just prepare for the chaos that is coming with Sanhok. As we know, Sanhok is close quarters combat all day, every single day. So hopefully everyone's looting up and getting themselves ready and prepped for this one. But Patchy, the zone today, did you say something to it? Did you bribe it?
It's possible. I will not allow my methods to be known. However, I will say that the zone is quite particularly fond of a specific kind of points. No names, no name. I'm not going to tell you what kind of points, but there are specific points that it enjoys being given, and upon such interaction, allows you to just nudge it in the right directions for things to happen, for fun things to happen, such as, but not limited to, many bloodthirsty battles and some very difficult situations for these teams.
I mean, I know what kind of points we're talking about.
No, I've not.
But I feel we should conjure up a new sort of point system, after DK, since he's not here. So if DK was here, how would one get DK points?
Well, That is a good question. DK does enjoy the aggression. He's a fellow man of culture when it comes to the PUBG aggression. He does enjoy a fight or 3,000. And right now, that is indeed what these teams will need to happen. Because, I mean, if we start talking about the teams that are, on relegation, if they're on the line, if they're trying to make points on the board, the way they make this happen is they have to go looking for teams that are decidedly not able to beat them. They have to go looking for fights. They have to try and take risks. I think the closer we get to the end of the semifinals, the more risks the teams at the bottom have to take to try and move their way up. You have to start challenging teams that are maybe even dominating right now. Teams like Infinity AF. You might just have to go and knock on their door and say, "All right, we're here for a fight, and we want to take as many of you down with us as possible." At this point, this is what needs to happen. You need to look for the fights. You cannot play passive anymore. The placement points are not enough. If you want to drop 30 bombs, 20 of those points have to come from, from kills.
Okay, so that's okay. Ouch! I was just about to say, Lord is chasing the poor member here from Sidemen down. Now that that's done and dusted. All right. So the way that you get DK points is by taking on one of the top 8. Let's say it that way. Make it the top 4 even. If you take on one of the top 4, you grant yourself a little bit of DK points. Okay. He's not yet to endorse this, but I will endorse it on his behalf as the fake DK for the day. Taking a look at it now, that zone coming through, and many of the teams having to make their rotations past. I mean, some of the places like Quarry, heading through from Camp Bravo would be, ATROX, and many of the teams still have to find themselves some sort of safety in the zone. Still a little bit of space left, at least, so some fairly good options for many of the teams making early rotations. I am curious though to see if Slime 4KT will be making such a late rotation again. If it's a part of their strategy, was it something by accident? Is it something they generally want to employ? What do you think, Patchy?
That is a good question. We know the G3 does like to locate themselves quickly, so I guess if we're talking about 4KT, they have a little bit of a different approach. And if we're talking about late rotations, it can definitely be useful to take a later rotation, especially if you want to focus a bit more on the geographical related place. If you want to catch people out, do some rotation camping, bridge camping, etc., etc. If you want to try catch teams out, it's certainly a good way to do that. If you want to focus on taking fights against them or trying to punish mistakes, which I think 4KT might be quite good at, and maybe that's what they really focus on. They like to try and punish mistakes that are made by some teams, rotational mistakes, pushing errors, even capitalizing on fights. What we see them do quite often is if they notice a fight in the area between two teams, they'll actually go and be like vultures, hang around until someone dies, and then go and pick up the pieces and even attack the team that won, because they'll still trying to be recuperating, and it's a perfect time to strike. So a little bit of a difference in play style there, and it could certainly come in handy, especially when you're looking for points like we know the top teams generally do.
Absolutely. And I mean, many of the top teams, they've been employing these strategies quite often, and they stick to their guns, if I can say it that much. I mean, G3, they've had a set strategy, since we've known them. Sometimes it gets a little bit more aggressive, sometimes it doesn't, but early rotations has always been something that G3 Temper have been, pretty good at, and it's what's granted them many of their victories in the past, or at least many of their kill points, especially because they are able to set themselves up quite early on, just wait for teams to rotate in, and then they just pick off anyone and everyone running past, which is again something that many teams are absolutely afraid of. You never know you're going to be running into. As you look at it, many of the teams now just finding each other, bit by bit, doing a little bit of damage. Some team kills here and there, not too much for the time being, not anything absolutely disgusting or crazy, because it's still very early in this game. Only the first zone now busy closing up, so still very early into this game. Many of the teams have already made their rotations, which I like to see. Sidemen dragging a little bit behind, BBC as well, quite close to that coastline. Not sure if they might be taking a boat around to maybe closer to Kawa, or maybe a little bit there to Hatin, but we'll see how that happens. We have seen them do that in the past before. They tend to prefer these sort of long rotations where they will definitely not be running into anyone. Lag though, just picking a fight with anyone and everyone, throwing bullets around, not making any connections just yet. The Magicians, unfortunately, taking quite a bit of damage here from G3 Temper now, trying to set themselves up for something, but they're literally just stuck. There's no way for them to go right now. They just have to find some sort of a gap here to get out and make sure that they stay alive.
There are a lot of teams in this vicinity. It doesn't look like it. We've got G3 and the Magicians, but there are actually a couple of teams in the area that could punish this fight if one of these two teams commits. And you can see the G3 is actually focused on some of those teams. Lag is one of them. It has been a bit of a long-range battle between these two teams for a considerable amount of time. G3 knows that they can't push forward because if they push forward, they are going to expose themselves to lag and potentially a couple of other teams that might be watching this area. So they can't really push Magicians and take them out, even though they might want to. And the Magicians are in the exact same spot. If they push out, they're going to expose themselves, and definitely the third-party shots are going to come in and take them out. So they can't really push back against G3. So it really is just a matter of, being almost locked in a bit of a stalemate, trying to catch players out, and that's what Unity looking to do. He puts a few shots in, but Legacy is there to clean up a couple of those angles, make sure that they don't get to push in and take anything for free. So the Magicians will stay alive for the time being. They're managing themselves pretty well here in this compound, not getting taken out just yet, and making sure that G3 know they can't just push in, they can't just pick anything up for free. It will be met with a equal response. But speaking of responses, Infinity AF going ham against Solo Esports. Solo, unfortunately, taking quite heavy losses there, which is definitely not what they're looking for at this time.
Not at all what they're looking for. I don't think anyone would be want to be looking for any of that. As we look at it, 14 teams left, 49 players alive and still fighting for the points here in this crunch weekend of the Umzansi Esports semi-finals, almost the finals, 1 weekend away from finals. I can't believe we've gotten to that point, Patchy. And I feel like everyone is still very competitive. There's still many of the teams that we can actually say, you know what, they've done fantastically well. They have what it takes. They clearly have the strategies to employ, but will they make it through to finals? I do see Sidemen still lagging behind, quite severely there in the blue zone, Patchy, and they might be running into Sincerity on their way as well.
Yeah, it could be a few difficulties to get past when it comes to what is about to occur. With the zone having shifted up into that northern region, there are still some teams straggling along the western edge, on that western separation there, that little island. And it might just be difficult to cross over. Here on your screen, the Magicians have continued to pay attention to Lag, who have taken up residence now in this compound and made sure that they are continuing to be a nuisance in the side. You can see the center of the zone right now is packed. We have all of the teams just in that area. These are the teams like G3, which can't really push forward because of the fact that there's so many teams here. And now BBC is looking to join them as well, actually, get into that fight and maybe be able to pick some teams apart here. This is going to be a tough one. BBC are just rolling in, and they might just clash straight into the Magicians. First of all, this is going to be a tough time, and even Unique now in the fight on the western side, just across the channel. So things are picking up all over the map, and that's inevitable considering we have 14 teams still remaining, and the size of the zone is going to start shrinking quite quickly. And because this map is small enough as is, we're going to start running out of space really, really quickly.
Sanhok is already quite a tiny map. To think that majority of the land has already been taken, the land in the zone at least, it's all you have to work with, because half of it is just water. Half of it is unusable space for our teams right now. The zone at least now coming through and pulling a little bit closer to the water, but still it's unfortunate for many of the teams because those rotations are a little bit awkward and a little bit delayed, because it's a little bit difficult to navigate where you can plan for these final fights and where you could find yourself some safety here. Many buildings to work with, of course, because we're very close to Paradise Resort, and yeah, it's just gonna be interesting to see how this final zone pulls through. It looks like Infinity, though, are happy to get a little bit of revenge there onto Team Unique, looking for some early kills here. They did unfortunately fall short there in Erangel already, from the get-go. Losing those two members made it very difficult moving into the latter half of that zone. The fights were a little bit awkward, unfortunately. You're always, two men down in a fight. You're always at the back foot, always, unfortunately, trying to take a fight that you're at least supposed to lose. But we've seen them do a lot of things, and this time around they've got all 4 team members alive and well. Also, I did get confirmation DK points would be impressive plays, being bold and calculated. DK has said with his PUBG by candlelight, he is supporting the stream and he's waiting to see these teams do absolutely madness, absolutely just amazing things as we've known them to do. So Patchy, Those are the DK points. It's our job to look out for those today.
Well, we'll have to give DK a little bit of feedback there when he gets to watch and see. We'll see what he has to say about all the things going on at the moment, because right now we have a lot of teams that are locked in a little bit of a battle with several other teams, 2 or 3 even other teams at the same time. And starting to manage these angles is going to become very difficult once the zone shifts up, which it's about to do. If the zone shifts to the east, I think most of the teams will be fine with that, because then they'll continue to be able to focus on the engagement. But if that zone shifts west, it is going to be absolute chaos, and they are not going to have a fun time whatsoever. 4KT now turning their attention towards Sincerity, who've had a bit of an issue moving across the coastline now. They've gotten caught out. Rogue has gone down. The res has to come through, but Easy is trapped behind a tree. Suhan has to come through. You can see Fex, he's slowly crawling up, and he's actually just tossing those nades across, and Rogue goes down again after being revived, instantly just taken down by another nade. That is frustrating. 4KT just not making this easy at all, and speaking of easy, he is getting hit bit by bit, pops the smoke to try and stay alive, pushes out, takes Fex down. He is not going to go down without a fight. 4KT are not going to get this one for free. They have to make sure that they don't get cleaned up by this nade getting tossed across. Easy going to have to retreat away from a nade of his own. Sincerity trying to get back up again. A second time Rogue is revived. This time, though, they won't be taken down by a nade just yet. 4KT now on the back foot, as Sincerity do have their numbers back up. But the real question is, are they going to stick around for the fight, or are they going to retreat out of the situation, because things are about to get a little bit messy?
Oof. I don't know. So for Slime 4KT, right? Trying to find an angle is just not going to be the case. Nope. Nope. not the case when those shots like that are going to be running through. Nice little knock there coming through. And now, here for Sincerity, just one more member left, and that is Slime 4KT. Then, for the count. That means that they could potentially, look to take out some of the other, major competitive teams here, and maybe pick up some points, some desperately needed points. Everyone here, you want to pick up as much as you can. It doesn't matter what placement you are on the leaderboard. If everyone is constantly improving and constantly hunting for more points, then you need to just keep up. Either keep up, or unfortunately, you'll have to ship out and be relegated. Ooh, this is an unfortunate turnaround here for Slime 4KT. I didn't think that we'd be seeing this like on Sanhok. Patchy?
Who could say? I at this point, my expectations, I have just taken them. I have opened the window. I've thrown them out of the window into the trash can, and now I just sit back and watch in awe as things start to happen. We would expect Infinity to start, taking dubs, and then, maybe not. Who at this point, who knows? Who knows? Right now, there are a lot of teams where the pressure is on, the weight is on their shoulders to perform. If they mess up, it is going to be a very difficult one. And one of the teams who really needs to make this work is Sincerity. They've been doing so well in this semi-finals that seeing them go out now would be really unfortunate. They are very close to being moved down towards that relegation page, so they need to fight really, really hard to stay up there. And once again, I'd love to see them in the finals. So they need to keep performing. They need to make sure they don't get taken down here. And this is a good start, The fact that they've been able to defend this position reasonably well, the fact that they're mostly still alive, they've got 3 out of their 4 players remaining. They're still taking a little bit of a prolonged battle with Fex, but for now, that's okay. They haven't been taken out. They're spread out a little bit on the coastline, but ultimately still fine. If Fear is in the vicinity, and it looks like they might have to deal with Fear as well. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see, because Fear, we were talking about them. They're sitting towards the bottom of the log. There's no real chance that they're able to make it out of relegation at this point in time. So it really just rests on Sincerity's shoulders to be able to make it out of this situation.
It does. And as they take the rotation through, Fear is just on the outside. They're just waiting to, get involved in any sort of fight. They are literally gatekeeping Sincerity from getting into zone. It's unfortunate, but that's how you basically need to play it. You set up those rotations, you get into zone early on, you wait for the teams to try and get into the zone, and then you make sure they don't, because you will be there to take the kills instead. That confirmation coming through there. So I'm 4KT now out for the count, and Sincerity will have a little bit of time to loot up. It does look like Fear is moving a little bit closer there towards Paradise Resort. Zero tolerance now on the outside of that zone, moving in as well. Might find themselves close to Sidemen. They might pick a fight. G3 Temper finding themselves right in the middle of the zone there next to Magicians, and Lag Infinity and a few of the other teams still needing to move on in. I don't know if Infinity are right on top of each other, or if Infinity have once again unfortunately felt some losses, but we'll take a look at that shortly. Team Unique now moving on in right past Infinity AF, right? So again, an opportunity here to maybe get a couple of knocks, an opportunity here maybe just to ignore them and get into the zone. It does look like Senior's alone. Is Senior alone right now? Is Infinity down to one member again, Patchy?
They might just be. They might just be. I think they are, from what I last saw. In any case, it's still going to be tough for anyone at this point in time of the game. G3 have made their way into a pretty good position here inside the zone. The Magicians are still here. These guys have been locked in this battle for literally the entire game. The Magicians and G3 have been in this position basically the whole time. And it doesn't look like they're going anywhere anytime soon, which means anyone passing by this location is going to have a difficult time getting there, because G3 and Magicians are in the vicinity. There's still a few long-range shots that are being exchanged between some teams. You can see some knocks going forward. One got into G3. Now Zero Tolerance is looking for Sincerity across the way, but treetops are thankfully obscuring that vision for the time being. Sincerity is safe. Solo gets taken down despite being very low. Infinity still in this game, still putting the points down on the board bit by bit. They're basically safe. Infinity don't really need any wins anymore. They have secured their spot, but if anything is to go on yesterday, they're not going to be happy with that. They're going to continue to play hard. In any case, Zero Tolerance taking a little bit of a battle. Vibes does get taken down. They're right up here with Fear, but Fear have not managed to find their foot in any of the battles that they have taken so far in this game.
Oh, it hurts, because for many of these teams, right, there's a lot of pressure in this weekend. It's the last weekend of the semi-finals. Oh, and Nates is ready to make sure that Sidemen, they remember that. Throwing in some very, very beautiful shots there into the Sidemen, taking that knock. They will be able to get the race through, because obviously Zero Tolerance, they're not going to plan to push out into the open just yet. Try get that confirmation. It's a little bit too risky, and there's a lot more teams that would be very happy to capitalize off of that sort of rotation they're coming through from Zero Tolerance. For the time being, they just need to watch their backs, right? Because right behind them is none other than Fear, who have actually some sort of cover in the form of those buildings, but they also have to move into zone. 5 layers deep, that zone hurts. You do not want to be caught out in that zone. You do not want to be, dragging behind, maybe taking a little bit too long to actually find yourself some safety, because you will be punished for it right now. And with that being said, here it comes through. The zone moving in now, applying that little bit of pressure here, and Zero Tolerance throwing some nades to try and catch the members of Fear as they're trying to get the rotations in. I like this. I love this from Zero Tolerance. They're making this absolutely impossible right now for Fear to get into the zone, whilst still managing their position. You need to be careful though, because G3 Temper just on that high rise would be very happy to get involved in this one, but for the time being, it looks like it's just down to these two teams making so much damage, so much trouble for each other. Fear not looking too healthy now. Just barely. I can't believe that. Fear is taking and has taken Zero Tolerance out completely. Chris is on a sliver of HP, just trying to get into the zone. Swagsy's going to be dead. Gunner now from G3 Temper, as I mentioned, very happy to get involved in the fight here. All they need to do is literally just spit, just maybe throw anything, literally anything at Chris. And unfortunately, he might be out. He will be healing up in the meantime. But for G3 Temper here, they have actually found themselves the perfect position. They are still within the zone. They just need to be worried about all these teams moving in now, Patchy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say about what we were just seeing there. It looked like Zero Tolerance had the upper hand and then absolutely got destroyed, just decimated as they tried to get into the zone. They tried to employ a little bit of gatekeeping, but the tables were turned, or the turntables, as they say. Now G3 with some serious presence here on the map. You could see Unique pushing up from the one side. Senior still alive for Infinity AF, despite being down to this one player. We've got the Sidemen as well, 3 players strong right up ahead of them, and it looks like Unique is trying to push up in towards G3. Buren is going to have to be right there on point with Tomac. Up they come. They're going to have to make sure they don't get pushed from any of these sides because they are surrounded by enemies right now, and with the zone about to push in, things are not going to get any easier. These teams are going to be forced inward, forced closer, and that means G3 has to deal with these battles. Unique slowly crawling up bit by bit. Tomac goes down. The Magician's getting involved. The Paradox and Rids now moving up the side. There's too many players to handle. There's too many angles to worry about. G3 getting pincered from both sides. Now Unique runs head first into the approaching army from the Magicians. It's a 1v1 against these two teams as they took a Tomac down. Buren has to be on the back foot here. He has to just wait and pick up the pieces of this inevitable fight. This clash between Unique and the Magicians has absolutely left them devastated now. They've got players down. They have to start worrying about where the rest of the teams are. There's 5 teams remaining here in this zone, and it's just gotten a whole lot smaller. We're 7 zones in, and yet all of these teams, all of these players are still remaining. The Sidemen now trying to assert themselves, and they are certainly doing just that. Gunner gets taken down. G3 split down the middle. Buren getting taken out. There's just no ways that G3 were able to survive that. As I said, too many angles. All these players advancing from every single side. There's not enough cover. There's just no way to manage all of that, all of those threats. And now it's the Magicians versus Unique versus the Sidemen. The Sidemen have 3 players remaining here, and they've got a good spot inside the zone. The other 2 teams, not so lucky. The Magicians and Unique are going to have to fight this one out and see who is going to get the opportunity to get into safety of the zone. Right now, the Magicians have the numbers to potentially win out against Unique.
Ooh, 3 teams left. And I don't know, at this point in time, if you look at it, Sidemen quite close to the zone, Magicians moving on in. So, I mean, for the 2 of them, we might be looking at an interesting fight here. Everyone just crawling there in the grass, trying to make sure that they're not the first team to engage. But Sad Boy said no. Is going to be finding sorry there from Team Unique. K-Schnell, the last remaining member there of Team Unique, alive and well, still in that zone, trying to move on in. 7 layers deep in the zone, though. You need to move, buddy. It hurts. It hurts a lot. But moving on in is not going to be the best option either, because they will be running straight on into Sidemen and the Magicians now. Not only do they know exactly where the Sidemen are, they have the numbers advantage, but they also have all the information now. Sidemen trying to recover here from the situation, trying to get themselves set up for this one. Magicians, all 4 members alive and well. Ash quite close to the action, trying to scout out some sort of an angle here and get some information to see where they can engage, where they can start to pick apart the Sideman. There's the first one. Sad Boy goes down. Matrix and Sleepy now left alive, and that is the cause for Magicians to move on in. They know they can smell blood. They want this. Matrix and Sleepy trying to stay alive in this situation. It's just Sleepy left. Magicians just have 1 member away, 1 person away from them taking the winner chicken dinner, and it is the case. Set in stone, done and dusted.
It is a flex out here. They managed to get what they were looking for. The Magicians desperately needed those points. They desperately needed this win, and they were able to secure it despite being in a very difficult situation. They managed to play it slow when they needed to. They didn't lose their cool, and they were able to win out the fights. They managed the situation, and they were able to pick up 6 kills off the back of that as well. So that's a really nice bolster to their point score, and that should elevate them up slightly from their position down against that relegation zone. The real thing is going to come into the next game, because after this, we've got 1 more game. This is it. Miramar is the final game for today, and that also means it's the final game for Group B in the semifinals, which means that whoever is in Group B, it's a little bit of a difficult situation for them right now, because this is the final chance that they have to put points on the board. Everything else is completely out of their control after that.
I mean, if you look at Group B, right, let's check it out. It's G3 Tempo, Zero Tolerance, BBC, Lag, Esports, Sidemen, Fear, Rain from Hell, Team Unique. Those and so those teams have 1 more map to get themselves potentially into finals, and then the rest is out of their control. There's still 3 more maps tomorrow that they're not going to be involved in. That's out of their control completely. So they need to not only make sure that today they get themselves into relegation, but that they have enough points to push themselves forward to avoid relegation when they're not even playing. That's you can't even predict that because you have no idea how the other teams are gonna compete, if they're gonna pick up those points, if they're gonna just absolutely be crazy. They don't know. But they just have to try their best. This is the Umzansi Esports League Season 4 brought to you by Northern Gaming Africa. We're going to go to a short break. When we come back, of course, we're going to check out the standings there from Sanhok, and we're going to prepare for our final map. Team B's final chance to get points and to maybe get themselves into the finals. Be right back. We'll see you now. Welcome everyone to the Umzansi Esports League. This is brought to you by Nodwin Gaming Africa, and of course, Season 4 has been competitive. It has been crazy competitive. Me and Patchy were trying to figure out, okay, who's going to be safe, who's not going to be safe, because both of us are very anxious for Group B, at least some of the teams in Group B, whether or not they'll be making it to the finals, because this is their last map of this weekend, Patchy. Last map of the weekend that they can get points, and it's...
Last match of the semi-finals that they can get points.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts a lot. Let's take a look at the standings there from Sanhok and see basically what we should be expecting, because I am not too sure if all of the teams from Group B will be going. Well, we definitely know not all of the teams from Group B will be going through. Unfortunately, doing the quick math that we have, we don't think it's possible, unfortunately. But Magicians putting up at 21 points a game. Team Unique now sitting there with 19 points. They're going to be picking those up. Sidemen as well picking up 17. I like that, because we were talking about it. Team Unique and Sidemen, they're two of the teams that are like, Team Unique, yes. Sidemen, maybe no, depending on how the games go tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow's games will be, and this is really the most scary thing for a lot of teams, is that tomorrow's games are actually going to be a decider for a lot of the teams in this group, because we were, like, as you mentioned, we were talking about this behind the scenes a little bit. We've got a couple of teams that are absolutely safe. G3, I mean, obviously safe. Zero Tolerance safe. BBC safe. Team Unique, even, they've made themselves pretty high up and pretty well secure, so it looks like they're going to be safe as well. The real questions start to drop down when we start looking at like the teams from the Sidemen, and so picking up some points for them is absolutely huge. It's going to be really important for them to find some more points and see if they can make it and keep themselves away as far as possible from relegation. For now, they've made it pretty high up away from that, but because of how close in proximity all these teams are to one another still on that overall leaderboard, it is still a neck and neck battle, and it's still going to be tough to stay away from them. And of course, once these games are over, once the game today is over, and we move on to tomorrow's games will very much decide the fate of a lot of these teams. They're going to be biting their nails watching tomorrow's games with a lot of anxiety to see whether they've made it or not, because at this point it is just absolutely insanely close. As you can see right here, this is the overall leaderboard that we're looking at. And from what you can see is the Sidemen have made it up into position number 9, which is huge for them. That's really, really useful because they have distanced themselves a page almost away from relegation. That's huge. ATROX and the Magicians also pretty close from that. Sincerity still up here. They're in position 12. They've got some work to do, but for now they're safe. The real thing is, we were looking at 7AOK yesterday. They have been teetering on position 16 and 17 literally for weeks, and or for days at least, and it has been very difficult for them to try and make it up. Yesterday's performances from them weren't enough to get them out of this position, but with tomorrow's games, maybe that pressure will be enough for them to start putting more points down. And if they do that, some of those teams that we're seeing today on that page are not safe anymore. Solo Esports, we're watching them today. They're here in position 17. They still haven't been able to find any headway to get out of this position. And I think once this game goes off, we're going to start seeing teams dropping out. We're going to see whether they're going to make it or not. I mean, it's literally a case of as soon as we drop into Miramar right now, we keep an eye on Solo Esports and see, are these guys going to make it or not? Because if they don't win this game, there's no ways they make it, right? Even if the teams below them, like Natural Killers and Rainbow Six, even if they don't do anything, it's done and dusted for them. So this really is going to be the final nail in the coffin for a lot of teams, or at least a few.
Yeah, so looking at it, G3 Temper, Zero Tolerance, BBC, Team Unique, and actually Lag Esports, maybe. I definitely think, have a chance here. Definitely have an opportunity to be seeing them in the finals, maybe depending on how tomorrow's games will go. Whereas for Sidemen, very, very close to the rest of the teams. And they don't have a say in what happens tomorrow. Like you said, they just have to watch with bated breath, hoping that the rest of the teams, unfortunately, just forget how to play the game. Like, if literally it would be better for them if the teams on the last page do absolutely amazing tomorrow, do absolutely phenomenally, to pick up as many points as they want tomorrow, because it's not going to make too much difference for them. It's not going to kick them out of the situation. they're high enough to think about that, but still low enough that they should still worry. Because if any of those teams on second page decide that, listen, we're gonna pick up some serious points today, which is possible, we've seen happen before. There's some serious competitors in that group. Sorry, nothing you can do. We won't be seeing you in finals weekend, and they won't have an opportunity to play in the promotion relegation games, which is somewhat a good thing, right? Because then they don't have to stress again that they'll be kicked out of Umzansi, but it also means that that's the last game that they're going to be playing. Unfortunately, that we won't be seeing them for the season, at least. That is the last game they'll be playing for the season. We'll have to wait till next season to see them again, and they just have to sit back and watch. And it's not fun. I feel like if you're playing PUBG Mobile, you just want to keep playing. Whether you're playing to keep yourself in, whether you're playing from Inkosi to get yourself into Umzansi, or whether you're, of course, playing in those finals coming through in 2 weekends from now, playing for that share of that prize pool. You want to keep playing. So I'm very interested to see how these teams are going to be doing, of course, going through to Miramar. We know, massive map, massive change in strategy in terms of how these teams interact with fights, because sometimes the fights just aren't worth it for the amount of rotations they have to make, and also for the fact that every single team, they just have snipers that can take you out. It's fine. They can get involved at any point that they want to. It's, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be a game. I think Miramar is gonna be a game that is it's got a lot of potential for teams to just give it their 150%. That's what I've been asking for. 150%. I think this is definitely the map where it can happen. Lots of space, lots of opportunity. The angles that you can create very early on. The long range engagements that you can do happen very quickly. If you can pick up a Mini 14, if you can pick up a sniper rifle, even if you get that M4 in hand or an AK, you can actually just start dishing damage into teams in the vicinity. I think you can get a lot more aggressive a lot quicker. With games like Sanhok, you want to try and slow things down, you want to try and stay safe, you want to try and play a bit more smart and strategic. With a map like Miramar, there's actually a lot more room to get aggressive and do things. And so I think that if there was ever a time, if there was ever an opportunity to present itself for these teams, it is right now. It's map 3, it's Miramar, and I think there's a lot of potential to happen for these teams. But we're about to see. We're about to find out. The game is about to happen. And when it does, we will see the proof in the pudding. We will see the real life action. It's not just going to be theories anymore. It's not just going to be who's going to make it up, who has the potential to do so. Is Solo Esports going to find some points? We're going to see them finding the points or not. It's going to be decided. And once the game is over, there it is. We're going to be moving on to the finals, and tomorrow's games, of course, will decide a lot of the fates for some of the teams. And once the weekend is over, the finals come through, and then it's a whole different ballgame. Then we have the top teams in Umzansi Season 4 slugging it out to see who is the king and who is going to get the biggest chicken for that chicken dinner.
The biggest chicken, the biggest share of the chicken prize pool. I like it. Yeah. I like it as you look at it. Of course, Miramar, the flight path looking quite interesting, very close to, a little bit of an island of Miramar's own. But I don't know, we'll be seeing many teams go there, Patchy. And I don't really think it's too much of a waste. I don't think they can find any patchy points there.
Yeah, when it comes to this particular map, the patchy points do come through if you drop in the South Island. But doing so on this map isn't actually the worst. Like the loot is, it's fine, it's meh. But I think a lot of teams do actually decide to go down there just for a little bit of solitude, because most of the time nobody actually drops there. And I mean, that's mostly because it's not really favorable. You're very far away. The zone almost never goes down there. So usually you're stuck doing a lot of rotating. You have to find vehicles immediately, basically get yourself looted up and then just head into the vehicle and try and play slow. And it does play into a strategy of, getting in the late rotations, a little bit more delayed rotations, staying out of the fights for as long as possible if you're not too keen on them. But right now, I feel like that really isn't a strategy that you should be employing. I feel like getting into the fights is exactly what you want to be doing right now, because that's where the action is. That's where the points are. That's where things happen.
Absolutely. And that zone moving up there towards the northern side, all of the teams now looking especially for some rotations. I mean, Solo Esports, we're looking at ATROX, we're looking at Sincerity. They're a little bit more outside of the zone, even Zero Tolerance, moving there towards ruins. But for the other teams, they're in the zone. they can just loot up and make sure that they don't pick up any unnecessary fights until they are ready for it. I do see Fear close to one of the other teams, Rain from Hull as well, pretty close to the Magicians. Might see them picking up some fights there. And then in the center of the zone, it's just chaos. I mean, we've got G3 Temper there, we've got Lag, we've got. Do we have Infinity AF right next to G3 Temper right
Yep.
now? Do we have those two teams right
Yep.
next to each other,
Got
very
your Neek up in
happy
there as well.
to very happy to pick up a fight. Oh, okay. So that's going to be an interesting part of the map. We'll see how San Martin ends up, turning out. The graveyard and the power grid might have two very different meanings at the end of this, but let's see how these teams end up taking this game.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the clusters we've got going already. Now, of course, it looks like the teams are super close. They're not as close as the map makes them out to be. The Miramar map is very deceitful when it comes to how close teams look. There's actually a pretty decent amount of space between there. If you zoom in the map, you can see there's actually a lot of distance between the teams. But the fact that they're in the general vicinity means that they can still take a fight with one another. They can still pick a little bit of a skirmish. So, it's not out of the ballpark. They can't rest easy. It's not super safe just yet. The teams will be able to engage relatively quickly. And so with the teams that are sort of clustered up in the middle, the teams down south, to the southwest and the southeast, we'll hopefully start to see something happening relatively early on, because a lot of this, I think, this game is decided in the early portions, in the early game of the map. It's like if the teams get active early, they buy a lot more space and time for themselves. In the late game, things start to calm down a little bit and they can think more clearly. They don't have to be, on edge the whole time, versus if they decide to spend the time, making sure that they're fully prepared, getting all the loot and making sure that they stay alive with all their teammates, then things get really, really trying in the end game and things can get really, really chaotic as well.
Absolute chaos, which we love in Umzansi, right? We love a little bit of chaos. It's the most fun sort of games to cast, of course. And if they want those DK patchy points, then they need to be bold. They need to go for some beautiful plays. They need to be calculated, as DK has mentioned before. He has endorsed the DK points. It's a thing now officially. We have to make sure that it keeps staying a thing. What the DK points to those who are worthy. But
strategy and calculations will
exactly
decide how many DK points you get.
And for patchy points, just land on an island that no one ever goes to.
Exactly.
That makes Patchy happy. Do something that no one ever does. Patchy likes that.
That's exactly. I mean, that basically sums up my entire life. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Magicians. Patchy. Let's talk about the magicians instead, shall we?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we can talk about them. The Magicians are currently on the screen, and they're also sitting in position number 11. When we were talking about our differentiations earlier, I mentioned that Team Unique are sitting on 196 points, I believe, somewhere up in 7th place. And I think that's a pretty good safe zone to be, because the next rung down is 30 points lower than that, where Lag Esports is sitting in 8th. So that sort of feels like a bit of a cut-off zone where teams still are in a little bit of trouble. So the Magicians technically are still in a little bit of trouble. They have some work to do. They can't just be, out just yet. They can't sit back and relax just yet. I think these teams, despite the fact that they are out of relegation, they still need to be putting in as many points as they can, because as we were talking about tomorrow, the other teams have a chance to, maybe displace them a little bit. So they're definitely going to want to try and get some points in this game. The Magicians did decide to drop in Veldar Mar, so very close to that South Island, but no patchy points for not being on the island. So, nothing there. But ultimately, what that means is they're going to be excluded from a lot of the earlier engagements because they are a little bit further back away from things. So that'll give them some time to prepare, and maybe it'll just help them get a couple of placement points if teams make any mistakes, because right now what we've been seeing is a lot of teams have been kind of cleaning up their early game act quite a bit. They don't make as many mistakes as before in terms of rotational mistakes, in terms of taking fights when they shouldn't, or not taking fights when they should. So I think teams will have a lot better of a time staying alive. So the teams that try to stay out of the fight to obtain more placements, to try and get out of that, because as we know, positions 13 to 16 don't get you any points. So a lot of teams try and stay out of the fights until those until those positions have been cleared. But those positions take longer and longer to clear because no teams are dying early.
Yeah, look, the chaos that we talk about, what happens when teams don't actually engage early on, and then they find themselves in that final zone, and they're just absolutely surrounded by so many teams that they could have taken out earlier on. They could have had those opportunities. They could have made it a lot easier for them in the latter half. I mean, that affects everyone, right? So
Yeah.
it's also, do you take that risk? Do you, or do you play it safe and go for positioning? And time again, we've said that positioning alone is just not enough. It is not enough to get you up on that leaderboard, of course, but also to take you further, than the placement points can. Because let's be honest, look, you get first place, nice. That's 15 points. That's only 15 points. That's as far as you can go, purely alone, just with placements. Whereas with the teams that are doing placement and kills, I mean, they're getting 20, 30 points a games. They are
Yeah.
jumping on that leaderboard. They're jumping over other teams on that leaderboard. Just
Yeah.
absolutely leaping. It's amazing. And that's
And
the only way that you can really make sure that you're going to be safe coming, at the end of these semifinals, especially if you're not playing tomorrow. Sorry, you were saying.
no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right on that front. And I mean, the other argument that I think is quite strong for this as well is that if you're going for the kills and you're focusing on those, you generally tend to accumulate placements as well. So it's sort of like a double down. If you're focusing only on placements, you're not really getting kills as much, although it can come as a result of that. But yet, generally, when you're focusing on getting kills, if you get a team wipe, right, you've actually just earned yourself 4 kills and a placement point, right? Sure, you've earned a placement point for everyone in the lobby, technically speaking, but you don't really care about that, right? You care about your placement points, and you've just bumped yourself up one. So it sort of walks hand in hand with one another, and I feel like the teams in the past, or at least traditionally speaking, that have been very good at taking those kills have been able to rocket themselves straight up that leaderboard. It's not as easy to do now as it was earlier on in previous seasons, because the teams have just become so fantastically good at this game that it's not as easy to kill them anymore. It's not as easy to take them down. And that's why we have to start employing strategies to try and trip people up, or to try and capitalize on mistakes that get made. We were talking about that a little bit with 4KT. If you hover around, you can catch teams out making mistakes. Sometimes they'll send a player out to scout, or sometimes a team will accidentally not be together, or maybe one of their players will be a little bit too far overextended or too far behind. You can capitalize on that. You can pick that out. And speaking of capitalization, Unique Azuri gonna get taken down there. His position has been capitalized on, and it seems like that team has been started to get picked apart just a little bit here. Sorry on the back line, trying to do a little bit of assistance here, but Solar Esports has managed to drive a little bit of a wedge into their side and make things a little bit difficult for them.
I feel like you're sugarcoating it at this point in time, right? They're making it quite a bit difficult here now. If we look at it, Team Unique trying to make that rotation down. And yeah, look, the angles here that you work with Miramar, right? Because the map is so giant, because it's so sort of exaggerated. You work with a lot of mountains. The hills become mountains. They become absolutely sharp angles to work with. You're going to be firing down a hill. You're going to be fighting and looking for players, weaving and bobbing between all of this land mass, that it becomes extremely difficult to track where they're going. In addition to that, you have to keep in mind that you have to finish those fights earlier than you would normally do, because you have to keep enough time for you to rotate into safety, as many of the other teams are going to be doing that. You've got a lot of information with all the cars around you, of course. You've got sound cues to give away where everyone is, but sometimes you might be busy with a fight, and then there's just a car rolling up behind you, and then all of a sudden you are in a very different situation than what you started with. Many of the teams already in the zone, safely tucked away and waiting for everyone else, which is bizarre. Normally we see a lot of teams, still outside of the zone, still taking their time, taking a little bit of a risk. We've seen that many times today with Slime 4KT, a prime example. But look where they're at now. They're right next to the zone, and they're not leaving. They're making sure that they are not losing track of these rotations. And here come Fear, trying to roll up on their territory, trying to be bold, trying to get those GK points. They want to make sure that they take on the likes of Slime 4KT, because I think that's the best way to get some DK points, Patchy. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think DK will probably say that employing a little bit of a strategy here to try and keep Fear out of the zone is going to be useful, but it looks like Fear have decided to rotate very swiftly. They are trying to punish, but 4KT just haven't been able to land the hits as Fear just instantly rotating away in the vehicles. And they decided to go in very separate vehicles, which is a good decision. Make sure that they have to try and split 4KT's fire up just a little bit. That's going to keep them safe for now. And the kill feed G3 going up against the Magicians, putting a few hits in towards them. Fear taking control of this compound is going to make it that much more difficult for 4KT to take them down. Both of these teams are safe inside zone for now, but just about everyone is. And you can see that the center of the zone is still packed. I mean, these guys dropped here right in the beginning of the game, and they are still here. They are still making this happen. And with that zone shifting basically into the middle again, every single one of those teams that made it there are still going to be there. Infinity, they need to take a single step and they'll be there. G3 already there. The Magicians already there. These guys are dug in now. They've got positions. The question is, can they utilize those positions? And which are the teams that are going to be able to come out ahead of the inevitable clashes that are going to start coming in once the teams start to squeeze up into these locations? You know, is it going to be the teams that have dug in? Is it going to be some teams that are in desperate need of points? At this point, who knows? Right now, G3 in a decent position, BBC in a decent position, Magicians in a decent position, BBC in a decent position, and these teams don't need more points. They've already got the points as proxy.
Yeah, they've also got some tongue twisters there.
I did that.
Don't worry, it was my turn earlier. It's now your turn. It's fine. It happens. It's what we do. Team Unique now putting in the hurt there. Trying to make sure that they get in some shots. Actually employing a little bit of a strategy that I've seen G3 Temper do before, and that is just shoot anyone and anyone moving in the vicinity, which at the moment G3 Temper are looking like they may be the victims of it. Team Unique, though, they do have a knock and they do have a death on their team, so they need to be careful with this very aggressive strategy that we've seen G3 Temper do before. It does draw a lot of attention to you as well, so you use it quite sparingly. But I don't know. Whenever I think of Miramar, I think of G3 Tempo. I feel like it was the fact that they ran up a mountain with a buggy that has stuck with me. And now whenever I see Miramar, I'm like, that's the only strategy that you should employ. That the rest are all irrelevant. It doesn't matter.
It was quite a feat. It definitely was.
Literally.
I mean, yeah, it when it comes to the things that we have seen in these games, I think the things that stick with me most, the one was one of the very early games that we had early on in previous seasons, where the teams got pushed up against unplayable terrain, where the game literally decided that it was going to throw the final zone down onto impossible terrain. It's physically impossible to get there, and they were like, yeah, this is a good place for the final zone to be. I think they may have patched that out in the last patches since then, but man, it was like, how are these players, are they expected to play up a mountain that they physically cannot climb? And so they ended up having to battle it out in the blue zone. And it was actually quite entertaining, I must say, because the teams were forced to make on-the-ball decisions and go, all right, if we can't get into safety, we have to take a fight knowing that we're about to get washed over by a 8 zones deep blue zone that's going to take our health like that, i.e. we have to run into our enemies as fast as possible and hope that we can win that battle. And that was quite a time. And of course, the second thing is, as you mentioned, G3 just driving up the side of a mountain and deciding this is a good spot to just snipe everybody from. And that was fantastic. They just absolutely slaughtered everyone. Of course, they're not employing that strategy at the moment, probably been sussed out, and they've decided to employ other things since then. But yeah, that will definitely stick with me pretty much forever as one of the most highlight moments of Miramar. Right now, we're looking for something. We're looking for a highlight moment from one of these teams, and we might just get it, but that's gonna come down to how the teams decide to play and if they're going to be able to actually find those situations that they're looking for.
I think that's also something that's beautiful about many of these teams is they have a way of really jumping on opportunities. You know, sometimes they create those opportunities for them. They roll up on another team and they're like, you know what, this is gonna be ours. This is gonna be ours. And sometimes they just they're so good at sniffing out blood in one way, and in another way, just some sort of a morsel of an opportunity potentially, and they jump on it. They immediately just absolutely gun for it. And many of these teams, they really are so good at not only being reactive, but also proactive in that regard, which I think the more proactive teams have been the ones to really capitalize on those kill points. They've been the teams, like Influence Rage, like G3 Temper, like Infinity, like many of the other teams that we've seen, who just pick up such a sheer amount of kills. It's because they look for them. They hunt for them. They hunt for them like Wayden right now, finding Samurai here from Solo Esports. And Solo Esports, a team that has been suffering right now, sitting on that relegation page. Potentially one of the teams we won't be seeing in the finals the weekend after next. So they need to be very careful. We also see Lag all of a sudden just pulling up here on the Magicians, being like, hey, we're going to join your party. Ash says no, though. You need to have an invitation, and unfortunately, yours is invalid. Thank you very much, my friend. Zero goes down as well. 2 members remaining here for Lag Esports now. The plan that they would try to go for did not quite work out. They really wanted those DK patchy points. They want all the points, but unfortunately, they're not going to be getting any at the moment. Rids at least going with the knock there, so that's at least some sort of an angle here for Lag to work with. 1 member there from Magicians out for the count, but they are officially down to only 3 members alive and kicking, and still kicking to try and take out Magicians here, because they are trying desperately to get some sort of safety here. Ash on the outskirts trying to find an angle here, trying to find a flank there with the nade. Need to be careful though, there's nades coming right back at you as well. Magicians though, all of a sudden, might be the turnaround for them, as Lag is going to have a little bit of time to just reset and get ready for this final battle.
Yeah, I must say, I'm a big fan of that gutsy play by Lag. They just decided, all right, we're a full team. We want that house. We know Magicians are in there. Let's go. They roll up. They just run face first into the Magicians, and they brute force their way inside. They lost 1 single player. The Magicians, however, were not so lucky. They've got only 2 players remaining, and Burden is now on their case. He's like, oh, you don't have to worry about Lag. You have to worry about me first. Up he comes, instantly takes down the second player as well, and then he just picks up 2 free kills for himself. He's like, no, Lag. Those are not your kills. Those are G3 kills. Thank you very much. I'm gone now. And he's just going to pick those up and leave. Lag have got their compound, thanks to not only a very gutsy push by them, but a little bit of help from Bearden. And now off on the back line, the rest of G3 taking a bit of a fight. Rain from Hell just up ahead of them. Got some elims coming through there. Flacco on the back line. G3 have split themselves up quite a bit, but it seems to be working well for them. These guys are just completely capable on their own. They're like, you know what? We're going to separate. 2 players, you're going to go up in this building. You're going to chill, put some pressure on Rain from Hell. The rest of us, we're just going to go and have fun. Bearden goes into the next compound. He's like, hey, there's some guys over here. Let me pick those kills up for free. I'll add them to my tally, and we'll just move on to the next one.
I mean, I enjoy it thoroughly, because it means it's just chaos, and it also means that these players and teams are actively looking to take out the competition. As we mentioned before, if you don't do that, if you don't manage the numbers around you, it's going to bite you in the backside when those final zones come through and you just don't have the space to stay alive. Now, though, if we look at it, Sincerity still outside the zone, Sidemen still out of the zone, Fear, and I believe that's ATROX still outside of the zone and might be engaging quite soon. And if that's the case, then they might be wasting a little bit of time. Yep, indeed, that is the case. They're one of the knocks coming through there for Fear. Aatrox just deciding, you know what, Fear, you're going to fear us right now. You start running, because that zone is coming through, and we are going to be hunting you just as well. Many of the teams now still needing to find a little bit of safety here to work with. 10 teams left, 30 players alive, and that number is very, very quickly dwindling.
It certainly is. Tomac going to get punished for being separated from the squad. You cannot you cannot live as an island alone for that long and expect to survive past that. So it will be eliminated. Rain from Hell are here up against 2 of the G3 players, and we do have Lag as well up against some of the G3 players there. The Sidemen up here with 0 tolerance, as well as Aatrox, who have pulled past them. Sidemen split up 2-2, so Sadboy and Matrix up here on the hill, while Sleepy and 21 are down in the compound with 0 tolerance. Now Aatrox suffering heavy losses as they get eliminated. Sidemen just putting the hits straight into them and just dealing the damage, dishing it out. Matrix coming in for the res on Sad Boy as a Sideman. Keep a weather eye out. Muffin is in trouble, healing himself back up, but has to get on the move ASAP. trying to just flank around the side and getting a little bit of airtime with that, and almost flipping the vehicle, earning the 1,000 patchy point reward for that particular event, but just not getting it. Oh, looks like the Sidemen will, though. They're going to be rolling that vehicle, and there it is. That's 1,000 patchy points for that. And it's going to get immediately exploded for it as well. Sincerity just going to shut that down, as they should. Just picking up a quick kill on that. Willie and Rogue just looking to wedge their way in here. They have wedged themselves between Faluk and Nahal and Lord. So BBC a little bit split up, but they still have strong numbers. This is getting very interesting. These teams are just squished up against one another. The third-party shots are just flying in, and now these teams are going to be forced to fight to the death to see who's going to make it into the final few zones here.
I said it before, if you don't manage those numbers, this is the chaos that we, have come to expect in the final zone. 5 layers deep of that blue zone, so getting caught out in that sort of situation alongside all of the teams just throwing bullets left, right, and center. Team Unique now also finding a couple of knocks. They're quite happy to pick up those numbers. As we know, everyone just trying to get as much and farm as much points as possible with this crunch weekend coming through, especially the teams there from Group B. I mean, I see Zero Tolerance, I see the Sidemen, they're still in this one. I see Team Unique, still many of the teams from that particular group fighting for some points. Oh, Sincerity, unfortunately, might be involved as the points for some of these teams. Team Unique in particular, looking to make sure of that. Still, for the time being, still alive. Team Unique doing pretty well considering they only have 3 members alive. They're putting a lot of pressure for many of these teams. Rain from Hull now, I think, have just been taken out, unfortunately, thanks to G3 Temper, who have picked up 10 kills, Patchy. 10 kills right now, and they're in the top 8. That is a lot of points to be picking up in the semifinals here.
It certainly is. Any amount of points is huge for these teams, but 10 points dropping at this point in time is certainly something that can be considered pretty special there. These teams have definitely been putting in the work right now. We've got Unique trying to put a little bit of assault down in towards Sincerity. We've got G3 still putting up the kills. As you mentioned, 10 for them is absolutely nuts. And I mean, they don't really need it, but they're doing it anyway, and they're quite happy to do it. This is G3 territory right here. This is Miramar. These guys are experienced, and they know what is going on. And as always, they're a team that you definitely cannot mess with. You have to take them seriously, and you have to just give it 110% if you want to try and fight them. Mutant going to be picking up another kill. Some shots going straight into his back, though. They have to be careful. Gunner looking on the back line for a few pickups here and there as the zone shifts up once again. Zero Tolerance have pole position inside it. That means all the rest of the teams are going to have to fight to see who's going to get into safety. The Sidemen actually have a pretty good position in there as well. So it's G3 up against Exist from Unique, who is sandwiched in between G3 and Sincerity. Rogue and Willie there on the back line should be able to creep up into safety. But you can see that these teams know that as soon as they try and expose themselves, as soon as they try and go for a kill or an elimination on any of these teams, they're going to expose themselves, and it's going to be very, very difficult. The blue zone is slowly pushing them forward, and things are about to get very interesting here. You can see the teams, all of them are being pushed to the furthest reaches of the building. Sincerity squeezed up against the side. Exist squeezed up against the side. G3 and even Lag squeezed up against the last remaining remnants of the buildings that they were occupying.
Oof, this is very, very difficult for many of these teams to work here. Zero Tolerance, of course, they've made sure to get that early rotation in. And look at the Sidemen now, unfortunately, feeling the brunt of that damage coming through, with Zero Tolerance saying, no, this is our place. This is our position. This is our territory. You stay out of it right now. Get out of here. 6 teams left. 13 players left alive for these teams. And I'm not sure how Sad Boy can get into this one. I'm going to be honest with you. I need to just run down the hill, I guess.
Yeah.
But then you're going to be running straight into Vortex. He's very happy to wait for you. He's quite
He's
patient.
a patient man.
He's a patient man. He's like, the zone's going to do the work for me if you don't. So, I mean, continue, I guess. Just continue.
Proceed.
5 players left now. Sidemen going to be taken out completely there thanks to Zero Tolerance, which means Zero Tolerance are just going to be picking up more points. Like Esports now, the next team to try and find some sort of position here, and they're getting pressured here by G3 Temple from the back line. Boyden's just saying, hey, how about I take those kills from you? equal knock coming through there, and now the rest of G3 Temper trying to recover the situation here. Again, many of the other teams, though, very happy to get involved. G3 Temper now a little bit sandwiched here between, the likes of Zero Tolerance, the likes of Sincerity. Take your pick at this moment in time, but Hates is going to be there to get some revenge. G3 Tempo now hopefully being able to just recover it. Team Unique and Sincerity. Sincerity now. Okay, never mind. Sincerity not. But Team Unique. Sincerity here with Willie actually in the zone. I didn't see that. I
Yeah,
saw
he ran
one
across
member.
the road.
Oh my goodness. In
Yeah.
the chaos?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even see it. And I've got much more view than the rest of these players do. But Willie has actually managed to actually get into the building with a Vortex. So I don't know how happy they may be about that one. Exist now just trying to do the heal strat out of the zone. I don't think that's going to last for very long. 7 layers deep. It cuts. It hurts. It's painful. It's a searing pain. It hurts a lot. And now it's an 8th layer deep zone. So yeah, there it is. Exist out for the count. 3 teams left. One of which is down to 1 member. Zero Tolerance, very happy, looking very healthy, and then G3 Tempered, patchy. This is going to be a rough one.
Yes, it certainly is. Willie has a bit of a chance here to maybe throw a bit of a span in the works for Zero Tolerance, but I think that is the extent of what's going to happen here because G3 are looking to maybe make. Oh, actually, Willie could actually disrupt G3's plans, but if he does that, it's just a guaranteed Zero Tolerance win here. So they have to be very careful. Gunner now moving up with the rest of G3 to try and push in towards Zero Tolerance. If they can destabilize the situation, it might be winnable for them, but they have to be careful. Certainly, if any team was capable of making it happen, it's G3 and instantly starting out Gunner perfectly, just picking up that kill. That's going to make things this much easier for G3 to be able to come out with the win in this one. That's 1 Elam, but they're going to need a couple more if they want to push Zero Tolerance out of this position. But now, with the assistance of Willie on the backside, they might just be able to pull it off unless Fleco gets spotted out by Willie on the side here. Right now, Gunner is in a good position to try and catch the rest of Zero Tolerance out. Skido and Hate, they're just stuck on the bottom floor there. Gunner has to make sure that he eliminates Willie because otherwise G3 is going to be destabilized here. So this is a very careful standoff. Willie has the potential to take out Fleco and Gunner. If Gunner can spot Willie out, though, then it's a surefire way to 2v2 against Zero Tolerance, which is exactly what G3 need. So now Willie pushing up to the wall. He's getting ready to make his final push as that blue zone shrinks bit by bit. Fleco is just keeping his position, holding it true. He knows that if he stays here, somebody's going to have to catch Willie out. But if Willie wins the gunfight, it's an easy win for Zero Tolerance, potentially, unless maybe there's a 1v2 coming through there, which can definitely happen. Right now, the situation is very, very difficult. Zero Tolerance cannot leave this building, but neither can Gunner because of Willie. They have to spot this guy out. He is being a thorn in the side for both of these teams right now, and the fact that he's still alive is going to make things tough with that blue zone pushing forward, though. How much longer is it going to last? Hates actually jumps out. He's going to try and go for something. That's going to prompt Gunner to try and peek out, but he loses the fight. Now it's on to Willie to put the hits in towards Hates, but he gets taken down. Zero Tolerance have prominence now, and it's on to Fleco in a 1v2 situation. He has to try and take this clutch. He has to try and get this victory, but there's too many players, there's too many angles, and they're exactly where he is. He goes for the drop shot, but it's not enough. He will eventually lose that fight. Actually, no, he won that. There was a knock on the other team. How? What?
Excuse?
Was that the blue zone? Okay,
what?
G3 take that win with a considerable number of kills in the pocket. What on earth did we just witness? 18
Can we have a
kills
replay?
For G3. I would love to see that again.
Can we have
actually,
a replay?
because that was a very nice drop shot coming through. G3, they went in for that clutch. But I really did not expect that they were going to be winning that because there were 2 players from Zero Tolerance still alive. One of them was dipping behind cover, but I think the other one may have just gotten taken out by the blue. If that was not the case, then that was some phenomenal shooting from G3. But in any case, I think I am just as surprised as the look on Esproxy's face because G3, they doubled down on that. They were like, no, we're taking the clutch right here. We don't even care. They don't even need the points, but they just went for it anyway.
Look, I'm a little bit speechless right now. I don't understand how G3 Tempo actually managed to make that work, in all honesty. But they did. We weren't talking about G3 Tempo. We were like, it's a decent situation with like they were sandwiched between all of the remaining teams. They were taking fights from every single angle. Then they still had to get into zone. Then zero tolerance was already set up. I'm not sure how they did it, but they did it nonetheless. And to mention, initially when you looked at them, okay, they had 10 kills. They just continued. They continued to pick up a phenomenal amount of kills. So with that winner winner chicken dinner as well, again, not needed though. They
Yeah.
don't need these points.
Well,
But they're
I mean,
taking it
they
away
don't
from
need
everyone
them.
else.
They don't need them, but they certainly could use them. And I mean, when it comes to G3, they're not a team that likes to be seen, lower than top 3 at least, right? They like the bragging rights, and I think most of the teams do. But I mean, with G3, we know that they're a fantastic team. They've taken dubs, they've taken absolutely insane wins in the past. They're season champions, and it's no surprise that they've been able to pull something like this off. But I mean, if there was ever any doubt that Miramar was G3's map, I think that doubt has been resolved. They certainly know how to play any situation, whether it's climbing up the side of a mountain and just killing everyone from there, or taking a incredible clutch at the end of a game with a very nice drop shot and things that happened far too quickly for me to see. But yeah, they've gotten an incredible number of points out of that particular game. But it's exactly as you say. The points that all of these teams have acquired now, zero tolerance was in top 2, has been taken away from the other teams who weren't able to get them, who weren't able to make it up, who weren't able to find the points, and that's going to come back to bite them. Solo did not make enough points to get out of relegation, so they're locked in there no matter what happens. There is literally no chance for these teams to make it out, and after today, I mean, that's it. We have tomorrow's games, but Group B, we're not going to see them again. That's it.
Yeah, so I mean, for any of the teams here from Group B, so G3 Tempo, Zero Tolerance, BBC, Lag Esports, Sidemen, Fear, Rain from Hell, and Team Unique. That is the last game that they played in the semi-finals. Whether or not they're going to make it through to the finals will depend on how the groups of Group A and C do tomorrow, and if they do anything as insane as G3 Temper, picking up 18 kills and the winner chicken dinner for total points of 33. Absolutely just catapulting themselves up on that leaderboard. And Infinity AF, who's currently leading our overall leaderboard, I believe, the last time we saw, at least, towards that top 3, getting 1 point. 1 point. Just one.
Yeah. They don't need much. I mean, they're leading at the moment. Who's going to take them? Who's going to take them down at this point? They only need 1 point. They're fine. Who's not fine is, of course, Solo Esports. I don't think they've done enough to actually get out of their position, and I think that should mean that they do get relegated, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't think there's any way for them to get out of that. So that's very unfortunate that they weren't able to find anything there. So let's actually take a look at that. Let's confirm that on these standings here. So we're going to start off with the Infinity AF, of course, maintaining their top spot, but not by much. 267 points, very closely followed by Zero Tolerance Skills, who have been absolutely putting in the work for nothing other than the bragging rights to say, hey, we are out here, we are clapping, and we are making sure that you give us the respect that we need. We are moving into the finals, and you are going to make sure that you watch your step around us. G3 doing the exact same thing, boosting themselves all the way up into position number 3. Of course, 4KT still maintaining their position here on the first page in position number 4. We've got Influence Rage in 5. They've been doing some serious work in this last few days to actually get themselves here. And, well, here they are still on that first page. We've got BBC and Team Unique debuting themselves on this page as we end off this day's matches. And certainly it has been very great to see them moving up that leaderboard. Team Unique also putting in the work, and Lag has made their way into position number 8. So that closes up your first page, and I would say that these teams are mostly, for the most part, safe. I don't really think that they have anything to worry about. Sidemen very closely following that page with 176, which is very close to the team just above them. So they have done the work to separate themselves as far as possible from relegation zone. Absolutely great to see. Sincerity Esports in position number 10 as well. So they're in the top 10 of our teams here, and I think they should be, for the most part, safe. ATROX up here, Magicians in 12. So things start to really come down when it comes to these positions here from about 12 to 16. Things could potentially change. We have Rilla Insiders and C Esports that might just make a few waves, and fill in Apex as well. 7AOK, they're in 16, so they're not in relegation now, but they still have games to play tomorrow. So there's a little bit of changing that could be happening here. And then, of course, as we move from this second page into our relegation page, this is where the teams are basically, the ones that have finished for today at least have been cut off. So Solar Esports, I believe, will be in group number 2. So also group number not 2. They're not in group B. So I think they may have another chance tomorrow to try and make it out, which is great for them at least.
Same with Natural Killers, Rainbow Six, Young Thundercats, but Rain from Hell and Fear, that's it. There's nothing else that they can do. That was their last game for the semi-finals. And I mean, looking at the points sitting on 83 and 70, I think we pretty much know what's going to happen to tomorrow. Unfortunately, Team Somalia even has another opportunity to get points tomorrow. So, yeah, unfortunately, I think we'll have to say goodbye to them. I don't see a way that they can get themselves out of this. They can't. They literally cannot. They don't have another opportunity to get points. So, Rain from Hull and what did we say?
Fear.
Yeah. So our team from Mauritius and Nigeria, unfortunately, we'll have to say goodbye to, because there's really no way that they can actually get through, unfortunately. But we'll speak a little bit more about this tomorrow. Tomorrow, the last day of this weekend, of the semi-finals weekend, the last opportunity for any team to get points will be done and dusted tomorrow. We will know who's going to be the top 16 teams moving on to your finals for the Umzansi Esports League Season 4. So you better make sure that you come and join us. Big shout out to our caster, Patchy. Thank you, sir. And of course, our wonderful production team. It has been an absolute blast. And of course, the action is not going to stop. Tomorrow, the last day of the semi-finals. The next weekend, promotion relegation. The weekend after, it's finals. We're getting to the end of Season 4, so you better stay with us. Same time, same place, tomorrow, brought to you by Nodwin Gaming Africa. Please join us, so we look forward to seeing you. For now, we say goodbye. See you tomorrow. Hopefully, yes.